The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, let's get rocking and rolling here for a Tuesday afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, Sue Thomas. How are you?
I am fine, thank you.
We got Fred Bottomer, the Hall of Famer, in the studio with us.
Hey there.
Ethan is handling the shades over there on the other side of the room because I like my shades in a particular spot. I'm real kind of OCD on some of this stuff.
It's green M&Ms with you.
Right. It's like, every
so
host has their preferences, and Annie does a little bit more with the ring lights and stuff because she has the presence on the YouTube channel. She does a great job with that, by the way. I'm not as good at that stuff, but I have my particulars, like the lighting and stuff like that. We have to move them into a particular spot for me. I used to get yelled at, remember, Fred, when I was in the other studio? Because Carol would do the news, Carol Daniel, and I would walk in, and we've had this discussion before. Like, I am so anti, thank God, I think Annie is too, anti-fluorescent lights.
Oh, that's because they're evil.
Yeah, like, would you want to do this show every day? Like, I could be that person that flips those lights on every day.
No, I could not take
You quit, right?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I would, too. That would be a breaking point for me, unfortunately. You kind of think I'm joking, but, man, if I wanted to work under fluorescent lights, I would have been, I would have stayed at U.S. Sprint when I worked there in 1987 for like 4 months.
Moved to Target, right?
Or something like that. Yeah, well... There's that small customer service thing that I have to worry about. I think about that every once in a while because there's like about, if you put a list together of jobs that I might be able to handle once my career comes to an end, it would be really small.
I understand.
Okay, thank you, Sue, for understanding that. Let me start here with Donald J. Trump, our president, and the image of him looking like a doctor or like Jesus over the weekend, because this needs a little further discussion. And Ethan's telling me there's a little pushback on the old stream sometimes when I'm making some comments about Iran that are not completely supportive. I think that, the administration is going off the rails here in several ways, and I don't really understand it. So that's where some of the disappointment comes from lately. But let me just use this as a perfect example, okay? I guess, and by the way, I'm not offended by it because there are very few things that offend me. And Jesus and I aren't super tight these days. I appreciate all the money he put into the NFL when he was advertising on Sunday afternoons. That kind of came to an end last year. But I'm not a big spiritual guy or anything like that. But I have many, many people in my life who are very, very spiritual and religious, Ethan being one of them. People who really have strong faith. I have a Catholic family. I was raised Lutheran. Fred, you were a Lutheran as well. Most of the people, not everyone, but most of the people I have in my life who are close to me, they are churchgoers. They have a relationship, and they take it very seriously. So when I saw something like that, when the president puts that out, and he did take it down, and then when I hear the explanation, that's the other thing. There's two parts of it, because when he says, well, I thought it was a doctor, I mean, that just strains credibility. And if that's what he really thought, he needs to look at these posts a lot more carefully than he does, because we know he put stuff up there. Look, he put the thing up that was the ape comparison to Obama. I think that was just a mistake. I really do. I think that was misinterpreted. There are things, I defend this president all the time because I think his tone is misinterpreted. So I think the media is unfair to him. But on this one, I think it was completely unacceptable. And the reason I have concern, not because, again, I'm offended, but because millions of Catholics and other folks of faith did not like what he did. Now, let me take it a step further here, because this is where I really don't like the behavior. And this pisses me off because I want to support him. But I have to give credit to Riley Gaines. I love Riley Gaines. She's coming, by the way, next month for a pro-life event here. She's been, I think, just an absolute hero on these women's rights issues. She's been very courageous. I've interviewed her one time at this point, and I just love everything about her, and I love Team Riley Gaines. And now I think I love her more because she was critical of the president on this particular front in a respectful way. And the president comes back and says, yeah, I don't care. I don't even like Riley Gaines very much. I mean, are you kidding me? That pisses me off. Stop stuff like that. This is one of the biggest people in your corner with women in this country. She's done nothing but bend over and support you. Now, she supported DeSantis at one point. So did I. So everybody, by the way, so did everyone. There was a point where 3 years ago, everyone's like, okay, we're ready to move on to DeSantis. And then it became clear that he did not have the the makeup to do it nationally, right? But God bless Riley Gaines for being so professional and so polite and respectful here, because the response that she had to President Trump was really kind of amazing. And I'm totally on Team Riley when it comes to this issue.
President of the United States is upset with me. Let's talk about it. I know you guys saw the post. The AI-generated photo posted to President Trump's Truth Social account depicting him as Christ healing someone. This was me, a lifelong Bible-believing Christian conservative, this morning when I saw the post. Like, come on, President. I love the president. I support the president. I'm always in his corner. I think he's like a master troll, if you will. But for the life of me, I just can't understand why he would post something like this.
Because he shouldn't have, okay? And she was confused by it, and she's like, wait a second. And that's the reaction I think a lot of people had. And again, my gut instinct wasn't, oh, I'm offended by this. Because again, I don't care. I don't really get offended. But there were some people who were.
So I took to my X account and I said, two things are true. Number one, a little humility would serve President Trump well. And second, God shall not be mocked. And not even within 12 hours, it has like 5 million views. The comments were filled with people calling me a rhino and a grifter and a liberal, a closeted liberal who's trying to destroy President Trump. Which those people aren't even worth responding to, because normal people don't think like that.
Thank you.
People who are not chronically online. But anyways, the president ended up taking down the Truth Social post with the AI image.
So, that's another thing that pisses me off. You veer just a little, and I've dealt with this for a long time, so I don't really give a rip about it anymore. You veer just a little bit. Like, I veered a little bit on Iran, man. I've raised some questions about a quagmire, which, by the way, that's where we're heading. Oh, I'm a rhino, right? I hate that. And if that's how you feel, that's fine. You don't have to listen. There is nobody forcing you to listen, because I'm going to call balls and strikes the way that I see them. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the constitutional makeup to do it in the respectful way that Riley Gaines did, because listen to her here.
Later that day, a White House reporter asked President Trump, did you delete the post because of critics like Riley? And he responded back by saying this: I didn't listen to Riley. He then goes on to say he's not even actually that big of a fan of me. I could have told you this morning when I posted that. That would be the Trump response.
Okay, and she knows him well.
Yes.
If you dump on him, if you dunk on him, he's going to hit you back, right? That's what happens.
Following his comments, I have had a plethora of reporters from left-wing media outlets reach out to me for comment, trying to bait me into saying something bad about President Trump because he doesn't like me. Newsflash, I don't do what I do or say what I say to be liked. If that were the case, I would stick behind the slogan of trans women are women.
Exactly.
I do what I do and say what I say because I have moral conviction, which seems to be a foreign concept to some people.
So I haven't spoken with our friend TJ Moe about this. He's a very, very deep person of faith. He's a supporter of President Trump. I should find his comments on X, because usually I see them. But again, Riley handled this exceptionally well.
Yes,
Here's my response to the reporters from CNN, ABC, CBS. I love the president, and I am so grateful and glad that he is in the Oval Office. I will continue to support him and the America First agenda. At the end of the day, I do nothing for the approval of man, no matter who that man is, including the president. Our main purpose on this earth is to glorify the Lord, our creator, our savior, in everything that we do. That Truth Social post missed the mark. It's now deleted. Amazing. We are imperfect people. I know I am an imperfect person. I do not get my feelings hurt easy. And again, I know with the president, it's not personal. We've had our tiffs before. I just know that I want to spend eternity in a very real place called heaven. And I would love for the president to be there as well. Like one old big eternal party in the clouds. Jesus is the way. He is the truth. He is the life. I am going to keep doing my part by speaking the truth and doing my best to lead people to Christ. And supporting the America First agenda, which in turn means supporting President Trump.
I wanted to play that whole thing because I thought that was an amazing response from Riley Gaines. And how old is she now? Because I think she's only in her 20s.
Yeah, I don't think she's 30.
Right.
Let me
so
look that up.
the maturity that she has there.
25.
I think
She
she's
is my age.
25 years
Jeez.
old. That's unreal to me. It really is.
I know.
Because she handled that with so much composure. And everything that she said, I completely agree with. And I think it's just ridiculous that, why alienate the people who are on your side constantly? And then why do the hardcores that never veer, why can't they at least say, okay, this wasn't cool, this wasn't appropriate? Because here's what I know to be true, 100% guaranteed, not even debatable. If Joe Biden or a Democrat or Chuck Schumer would have done something like this, the right wing, the Republicans, justifiably would have lost their collective minds. They would have lost their blank. Right? Mm-hmm. We'd be talking about it because let's look at what happened at the Olympics last year in France. Remember, they had the depiction of the Last Supper, which was mocking Christians. It was horrible, atrocious, and it deserved to be condemned. And it was. This post by the president was inexcusable. It deserved to be taken down. It deserved to be condemned. And I'm ready to move on. I don't care, right? But, quit ripping on the people who are close to you. You already have a fractured coalition. You have a midterms where you're probably going to get smoked. And now you want to alienate Catholics and other people like Riley Gaines who supported you?
Evangelicals.
Yeah. Don't. That's, I'm sorry. That's not smart. But he's going to do what he's going to do.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
There was an accident westbound 44 approaching Highway 50 and traffic jams near Gray Summit. MoDOT reporting, though, that all lanes are now open. Other than that, it's the usual volume. So westbound 6440 Kings Highway out through Hampton. I wonder if there's a stall through there. Yep. Looks like an accident near the Science Center, creating that delay. Then things open up slow again at 270, and that's in both directions. Then some moderate volume just past Wing Haven, out through the 70 split. 70, just a little slow at K this afternoon, at least at this hour. And if you are headed into Illinois, we are quiet on the Poplar Street Bridge. On the Illinois side, eastbound 64 is a little bit slow, and that, of course, is around 157. That's where they've got some road work going on, and that's caused just a little bit of a delay. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out, outdoor spaces, windows, siding, kitchens, baths, quality craftsmanship, and lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I love talking about Generator Supercenter because I think it's like the easiest thing I ever have to talk about. It really is such a no-brainer. There's nothing that should keep you from getting a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator at Generator Supercenter. If you don't go through with the purchase, that's one thing. But let's find out if it's a smart purchase, because I know it is. You can give yourself peace of mind by calling for that free estimate. You can learn a little bit about Generac home standby generators. They're great, high quality. They're not portable generators. And we know that we have storms. We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the tornado. Ice storms in the winter. We got a little lucky with that. We had some snow, but no ice. But you know what can happen to the power grid. And I've said this multiple times. Look, I think we all know people who didn't have power for maybe more than a week during the tornado last year. This could be a life changer for you because you give yourself peace of mind. You never have to worry about it. If you're out of town, the power will kick right back in. Your Generac generator will have your home back and up and running within seconds when the power goes out. So they have a showroom in Chesterfield off the airport road, or you can call 314-499-2020. Do not wait for the next storm or outage. Get ahead of this right now. It's a smart thing to do. Call Generator Supercenter for your free estimate or GeneratorSupercenterofStLouis.com.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call me, Lance Drury, today and let me get between you and the IRS. I'll protect your rights. At the Lance Drury Law Firm, our practice is focused 100% on fighting the IRS. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Drury Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis. Call 314-260-6120. Visit Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Oh, a lot of fun stuff today and tomorrow. Our friend George Gray from The Price is Right, who spends a lot of time here in St. Louis because Mama May, his mother, lives here and he grew up here. He's going to do a Price is Wrong. We have a lot of fun with that. If you're not familiar, I would highly suggest tuning in the 4 o'clock hour. Dwayne Patterson from hotair.com is also here on Wednesday. Later on, Curtis Houck's going to join us later this hour from Newsbusters. There's this great feature for those of you who are on the X, formerly Twitter. If you don't follow Super 70 Sports, it's one of the greatest sites out there ever. And the guy who came up with that site, his name is Ricky Cobb, and the New York Times did a feature on him, and it's pretty funny. So I want to get into that. We have our good friend Kenny Wallace, who's going to be here in the next hour.
How about old Fred Bottenheimer over there, ladies and gentlemen?
Yep, we talked to Kenny before he took off on some international travel to Germany and to Italy, and we have to catch up on the travel log, so that's coming up. Also, there was a really funny post on Twitter today from someone who kind of gave him a little grief that he responded to, so I'll ask him about that as well. Right now, we have Charles Lipson, Professor Emeritus at the University of Chicago. He writes at charleslipson.com, at The Spectator, Real Clear Politics. Hello, Charles. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing just fine.
Let me start here with a little audio from J.D. Vance, who was back from Islamabad. I did not hold out very much hope that they were going to get to any concrete, resolution over the weekend, but he says they did learn something.
I do think that we acquired some knowledge about how the Iranians are negotiating, and this is ultimately why we left Pakistan, because what we figured out is that they were unable, I think the team that was there was unable to cut a deal, and they had to go back to Tehran. I really think the ball is in the Iranian court because we put a lot on the table.
So this was an interview that he did with Brett Baer. We aired a little bit of this last night.
We need to see the Straits of Hormuz fully open. And this is frankly one of the things where the Iranians tried to move the goalposts during the negotiation. We made very clear that that's unacceptable. We came to the negotiation saying the United States, what we've given here is a ceasefire. We've stopped bombing the country. What we expect the Iranians to give up is a full reopening of the Straits of Hormuz.
Okay, Charles, and I don't think we have that yet, right? So that seems to be the real focus is keeping the Strait open. I guess there is a blockade right now. It's a little hard to keep track because one side says one thing, the other side the other. But what do you make of where we are right now with all of that?
When I listen to all that, I think about that opening scene in the great movie Casablanca, where Humphrey Bogart is walking around, and in the background is a rug merchant who keeps saying, "For a friend of Rick's, I will sell you this at a price," and Bogart ignores it, and the guy keeps lowering the price. This is just rug merchants doing the negotiation, but I've said from the very beginning, it was unclear whether the people who were doing the negotiations were authorized to actually deliver. And even if they made a deal, and even if the people back in Tehran said that it was a good deal, this is a regime that's fracturing, and there might be people who would oppose it. Finally, what we're hearing is that the Americans are backing off of the idea that Iran can never have enriched uranium. They're now saying, well, we'll go for 20 years, is what the New York Times report is. That's unacceptable to me.
Well, that's unacceptable to me, too, and I had not really heard that. But I did have someone, look, Jim Carafano was on yesterday, and he was talking about how, at the very least, this is decimated for a long, long time. Maybe it's 10 years. Well, now you use the 20 years. Well, that's not getting rid of it forever, right?
That's exactly right. I would also say that I think that President Trump is right to emphasize the nuclear weapons and the nuclear stockpiles. But
whoop, there we go. You have that sound that often happens when someone just completely drops off the line. Hopefully, I'll have Ethan listening in the other room, and he'll get him right back on there. But that's unfortunate because I did want to hear what Charles had to say. Let me play just a little bit audio here because on the blockade of the strait right now, Trump says it's working.
We have a blockade. They're doing no business. I didn't like seeing boats come out if they were doing business with Iran, but if they weren't, no boats came out. So now Iran is doing absolutely no business, and we're going to keep it that way very easily. Don't forget, the Navy is gone.
All right, so that was President Trump. I think we have you back on the line, Charles. That was just him relating to the blockade, but continue. I'm sorry.
It seems to me that the problem is not only getting rid of all the nuclear materials they have there now and making sure that they're not in a position to replenish it, but we also need to have continuous inspections, and I wouldn't trust anybody other than the Americans to do the inspections. I'm certainly not going to trust the UN or any of these international agencies. They haven't been able to reassure us in the past. The Iranians are so deceitful, and this regime is so intent on having a nuclear weapon and the delivery mechanisms, which is another issue, that we just have to be incredibly cautious as we move forward with these negotiations. The good news is that we have a president who is cautious.
Well, he's very cautious, but he's also kind of veering off the timetable here, isn't he?
Well, that's right. The pressure he's feeling is not coming from Europe. The pressure he's feeling is coming from the gas pump at the corner in St. Louis.
Right, yeah.
Because he's got midterms coming up, and it's not just the gas price there. That feeds into every 18-wheeler on the highway and inflation and all the rest. It's just very important for the Republicans to have the economy surging forward several months before the election.
So I know you've written about, I was thinking about this the other day just because I still cannot believe, now we're in two major conflicts. We're not in two major conflicts, but we have two major wars going on. I guess some people have backed off calling this a war. I guess President Trump calls it a war. But, we still have Ukraine and Russia going at it, right? How does what's happening right now affect that conflict?
Well, it affects it in a couple of ways. The first is that the Ukrainians have developed the most sophisticated drone warfare in the world. Probably Russia is second to them. But the Ukrainians, this is the nature of modern warfare. It used to be said that a tank was the queen of the battlefield. Now a tank can be killed by a cheap drone.
There was a really good piece, and I'm critical of 60 Minutes a lot, but there was a great piece on that a couple of weeks ago that showed how they were really kind of, to a certain extent, they were hand-making some of these drones too.
Yeah, and they're making them by the hundreds of thousands. And it's a case where it's been they also pose, I must say, a threat to shipping in the Straits of Hormuz.
Absolutely.
By the way, did you see the thing where they did an interview with these college students where the person was saying there's all this talk about the Straits of Hormuz, but what about the gays?
I played that several times. It's a gem. Sue and I agreed yesterday. Honestly, I cannot think of every time there's a reference to the Strait of Hormuz, I think of that soundbite. I really do.
Hilarious.
Yeah, because it's so funny.
It's just hysterical, but it makes you kind of weep for modern education. In any event, I think that there's other interactions. I think that what President Trump is doing with regard to Ukraine is not all that the U.S. is doing. There's a lot of collaboration with the Ukrainians below the surface, but my own view is that there's a lot of pressure on the Europeans to actually step up and fund this war effort.
But let me ask, because this I don't know if we know the answer to this. There's back and forth. Is the Trump coalition fracturing over this? We keep being told no. Everyone's on his side with the war. I don't believe that. And I sense that some things are shifting, and there's some people that are a lot more nervous than they were at the beginning of this, especially because of the timeline.
I think that's exactly right. I think that there are two things going on. I think that the first is that we just don't know how this thing will end. If it ends well, then all's well that ends well. However, the second thing is that Trump himself is a lame duck. It's hard to remember that because in no way does he seem like a lame duck or appear like one. But all these people who are running for re-election or election in November know that Trump is not only not on the ballot, he won't be on the ballot in 3 years.
Yeah, well, and that's, obviously the history of the midterms is going to work against him anyway. But I just wonder how much this, because look, J.D. Vance was on with Brett Baer. I played some of that audio. He's asked pointedly, and he will continue to be asked pointedly, did he not want to do this? Because if you read the New York Times piece from last week, he didn't want to do it. Even General Kane said, wait, we better be careful here. And they were all telling the president the things that could go wrong. The president ultimately needs to make his decision. Now, as vice president, I think J.D. Vance is falling in line, but you can sense that there is discomfort here on that particular topic for obvious reasons.
Well, I think that's exactly right. The New York Times piece was very interesting, and I haven't really heard the administration deny.
No, they haven't denied any of it. That's what's interesting. There was no pushback on it at all.
You've accurately characterized what the Times says about JD in that meeting. I make a couple of other points about the meeting. The first was that the head of our national intelligence system was not allowed in the meeting.
That was significant too.
But Tulsi Gabbard was not in the meeting. That tells you something.
Well, somebody else was not there that day too. Was in the first part of the meeting, Vance wasn't there, and then he flew back.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. All right, Charles, listen, I got to run, but good conversation as always. CharlesLipson.com if you want to find the pieces. We'll talk next week.
Great to talk to you,
Yeah, we'll
Mark.
see you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Yeah, we've got some issues on the roads. An accident westbound 70 past 141. Watch for that one in the left lane. An accident northbound 270 past Dorset. Now, that one is on the right shoulder, but there's still some slow-moving traffic there. There was an accident. Looks like they've got this one cleared. Westbound 6440 past Kings Highway. There was one westbound 44 out at Highway 50 at Union. And we've got westbound 370 really pretty slow, headed for 141 tonight. Now, eastbound 70, there's an accident reported before you get to the inner belt, really close there to Natural Bridge. Some volume behind that. Westbound 40, just moderate volume now, approaching Hampton, but it's in pockets out through 270. And on either side of Lake St. Louis Boulevard, southbound 270, moderate volume from Page, in pockets through Gravois. 70 eastbound on the Illinois side, slowing at 64, but we look fine on the Poplar Street Bridge. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Mark Cox here. I want you to call my heroes at Zero Res and beat the spring cleaning rush. That way you step into a fresher, cleaner home this spring. This week, you get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $129. You can call them at 314-474-2020. This is a great time to get cleaner carpets, fresher floors, and improve the air quality in your house. Go online at ZeroResSTL.com. Make sure to ask for the 97.1 special.
Hi, this is Steve Butts from the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. In 2026, our agency celebrates a momentous occasion as we celebrate 65 years of service to our clients, a tribute to our founder and my dad, Nor Butts. Our staff is ready to assist you with all your insurance needs. So please call me, Steve Butts, at 314-752-2500 or at CrawfordButts.com. For auto, home, and commercial insurance needs, that's CrawfordButts.com.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit ThrottleNet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
Men. Need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They were in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
No paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
3:35. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules. Bold takes, real talk, no apologies. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Oh, at the Odyssey night at the ballpark last night. I can't remember, Sue, did you go?
I did not.
Okay, Fred went.
Yeah.
It was not the best game.
I saw the score.
Yeah, Jordan Walker, though, hit another home run. Man,
Love that.
He hit the home run he hit last night was like an Albert Pujols home run in the sense that it was just a line drive, and then it just goes right into the bullpen.
Love
he just smacked the crap out of it. So that's really
Love it.
one of the only positives we have right now. The Cardinals back in action tonight against the Tribe. I'll still call them that. And then they have an afternoon game tomorrow. We have Sue's News on a Tuesday coming up. Our friend Kenny Wallace, who's back from his trip to Italy and Germany. I can't wait to hear his travel log. You know that's going to be entertaining. And then we have Tech Talk Tuesdays. George Rosenthal coming up at 5:30. Curtis Houck back with us, managing editor of Newsbusters at the Media Research Center. How are you, Curtis?
Good to be with you, my friend, as always.
Most people on the planet, if they were following anything about Eric Swalwell, kind of knew he was sleazy and slimy and had a lot of things in the closet, except for Nancy Pelosi. She didn't know.
Some Republicans and others are saying that Democrats turned kind of a blind eye, that they knew what he was up to or what the allegations
That is absolutely positive. It's true that they may say that, but it is absolutely not true.
You had no idea?
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. I had none whatsoever.
I mean, come on. Come on, Nancy. Maybe it's a memory thing, right, Curtis?
Yeah, I mean, probably her plastic surgery probably helped her sell it a little bit. I mean, to maybe a few unsuspecting libs there. No, let's think about this, Mark. She represents a neighboring congressional district, okay, because Swalwell was in the Bay Area as well. So even though California is a huge state, and yes, she was the speaker of the Democrats for so long, she – even if she were a backbencher, because, nearby districts represent similar interests, so they would have spent a lot of time together. And overall, I think this is just a lesson, guys, that sometimes it is the people you most suspect. And
sometimes it's
maybe
pretty
your
obvious,
hunches are correct.
But what makes this even worse is that, let me play the audio, because this is Eric Swalwell, who's been, I don't even cover the guy very much. I don't talk about him because he's so sleazy. So that's been my position. And, I will say this, that I'm not trying to go easy on him at all, but then everybody comes out in the aftermath of this and all wants to say what they, were victims of. They should have said that before. But this is what he sounded like during Brett Kavanaugh's hearing.
I saw continued demeaning of victims of sexual assault, people who deserve to be heard, who deserve for their allegations to be investigated, and a president who wants to just rush this through. For Brett Kavanaugh's sake, if he is innocent, I hope tomorrow he opens his statement and says, you know what? Bring in all the victims, allow them to be heard, allow them to be questioned. That will clear his name if he's indeed innocent.
Yeah, I wonder if he has the same position right now on his accusers, which are now, I think, up to 5 at this point.
Yeah, and one of the newest ones that came out today in Los Angeles with Lisa Bloom that was carried on Fox, Newsmax, and News Nation, but not CNN and MS Now, alleged that she was probably drugged in 2018. Oh, and what was that year of the clip you just played? 2018 as well. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
The thing is, last year at one of the first No Kings protests, he wore a T-shirt that said "It'll all come out."
That's even better. Are you kidding
me?
me?
A No Kings T-shirt, or he said it. It was what he said. He was wearing a No Kings T-shirt at a No Kings protest. He said the new Democratic Party campaign slogan should be "It'll all come out." Well, it certainly did. And my colleague Tim Graham has a syndicated column coming out tomorrow, and it just goes to show that there's definitely politics at play here because, California's jungle primary, I don't think you guys have it in Missouri. We don't have it in Virginia or Pennsylvania, where all the candidates from both parties appear on the ballot at the same time.
We don't have that
in the primary system. And the top two go on to the general election. And polling was starting to show that maybe, possibly, both Republicans, Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco, would advance, locking out the Democrats. Because sometimes the Democrats have made it work where two Democrats advance to the general election. So something needed to be done, and somebody had to be taken down a few pegs. Katie Porter, despite pouring scalding potatoes on her then husband's head, that wasn't going to force her out. So they went next to Swalwell, and what do you know? The San Francisco Chronicle and CNN came out with stories on the same day. They had on-camera interviews. My colleague Nick Fodekar ran the numbers. Just so far this year, he's been on CNN 24 times, MS Now 26 times.
I was just going to bring that up.
He's nowhere to be found, of course. Even though I'm sure Jen Psaki or somebody would hold his hand.
Yeah, those numbers are interesting. So that's 50 appearances on both those networks. And, now, of course, they'll disavow themselves till the very end. But he did, he resigned from Congress yesterday. I guess they officially got the note and the notification that he's gone as of this afternoon.
He's instead of a keyboard warrior, he was, a cable news warrior. This guy lived in the green rooms. He would frequently be at the Cannon Rotunda there where all the TV networks have setups, or he'd be in studio, whether it was in Washington or New York. This guy was everywhere. He was ubiquitous on social media. And the other lesson, I think, along with the fact that it's sometimes the people you most suspect, also no man over the age of maybe 25 should have a Snapchat.
I'd say 15, but that's just me because I've never had something like that. Curtis Houck from Newsbusters is here. One of the other things that you and Nick have highlighted when it comes to the lack of response and coverage in some of the legacy media, and this is a huge story. And, we were told on good authority, Curtis, a year ago, there's no fraud, waste, and abuse in government. And there's been this unbelievable, hospice fraud situation that was started by independent journalism. But to CBS's credit, they followed up on it, continued to do stories. But ABC and NBC haven't covered it for 1 minute.
Yeah, not 1 minute. And what I think is interesting, too, is this is how legacy media can come alongside some of the more independent citizen journalists because, despite the budget cuts that they've had over the years, the staff of these networks is still larger than most other media outlets. They have tons and dozens of people that don't appear on camera at all. They have people that work in the backgrounds, and that's what CBS did, looking at this for months with Adam Yamaguchi. The one story that they had, that one doctor in California claimed to have worked at 126 facilities taking care of nearly 2,800 people and filing Medicare claims over $70 million in 1 year, Mark. That is just that's the kind of citizen enterprise, investigative, good government journalism that every network that wants to consider itself a serious news organization should be doing, because that's the kind of thing that it doesn't matter who you are, left, right, or center.
It doesn't.
Scamming Americans out of hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer dough is obviously something that should be of a concern to all of us.
Look, and we know every one of us that had half a brain 5 years ago when all this money was getting doled out for whether it was ARPA or for the COVID funds, we knew there was going to be this. But, even if you just look at what's been uncovered in Minnesota and in California alone, that has to be just scratching the surface. You can't tell me that there's not 48 other states that are clean on that issue.
Right, yeah, and also as I kind of discussed in my piece, you can't just say, oh, well, California is the largest state, so of course they're going to have these problems. No, actually, it is the states that administer, in the case of hospices, that they administer the licenses for hospices. Where the feds come in is merely the money that is being given through Medicare. If a state says this facility has our seal of approval, what are the feds supposed to do?
Yeah.
You know, and that's really where you get into the issue, as they found in their one story. 500 company offices were registered within a 3-mile stretch of Los Angeles. 500 hospices in 3 miles.
And no patience. It's unreal.
No patience.
It really
They're
is.
just office buildings.
Yeah.
They're just plain office buildings. You know, and that's the other thing Yamaguchi did. They sent him to these places and knocked on doors. These were just like ghost towns that he was going through.
Hey, Curtis, the biggest media story today might be about Diana Rossini, who is the athletic reporter who is now, and so I don't know if you heard about this at all, because this has kind of been building a little bit. She is an NFL reporter with the Athletic. She's got a great reputation. She's been around for a while, but she hung out at the owners' meetings, I think it was, right, Curtis, with Mike Vrabel, the coach of the Patriots, and they're both married, and she was in a swimsuit, and it looked like they were a little cozy. Now, that could have been misleading. Maybe they weren't cozy, but what happened is that the Athletic said that they were going to do an investigation. She's had a lot of criticism, and today she quit.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, she says she's maintained that all of these claims are false, malicious, or the exact verbiage that she's used, but she's denied all these things and is merely just resigning to kind of save the Athletic embarrassment. But, you know, different clips have come out about her. People have gone full political opposition research on her, and she's made all kinds of jokey comments about her husband and their, you know, personal lives and what they do after hours is really just gross and weird. And we understand as journalists, everybody, all you guys on set, you know, you get coffees, you might get lunch with somebody. That's no different than like a business meeting. You know, my mom and aunt, they meet with different marketing professionals for their manufacturing company that they run, how they can run their business better, or different career technology schools. They may meet with professors to hear about how students may help them. You don't end up going to a resort in Arizona, and she claims that she was there on a girls' trip. There were no other women present.
Well, and
she
then
hasn't really produced evidence of that.
She says it was an innocent interaction. And you know what? Look, as far as I know, it was. But the problem is the pictures tell a different story, and they're unprofessional, because if you're hanging out, like you said, at a luncheon, and compared to being in a lazy river, you know, next to Mike Vrabel, and you're in your, well, she did have a one piece, not a bikini, but that's a little different, right?
Well, and also just say, as somebody in the Washington, D.C. market, where she really first started rising to prominence, she was at our NBC affiliate, WRC, for a long time. And there were even rumors then about her. There was nothing substantiated, but beefs with different reporters and possibly being involved with the Redskins coaches before she got married, of course, followed her then as well. So this isn't the first time she's had some sort of paparazzi, tabloidy.
Well, and then that becomes a problem, because look, how does she recover from this? And her, I'm going to take a break here, but I want to read her letter, because her letter was very strongly worded. But boy, it's hard for me to think she's going to get an instant job offer out of this, right?
No, I don't see how, you know, otherwise. And there's a lot of female reporters where there have never been a scintilla of rumor, an ounce of rumors regarding them. But with Diana Rossini, it's come around a few times now.
Well, she's getting, obviously, a little consequence for actions. Curtis, it's always great to have you on. I hope all is well. We'll talk soon.
Always. Talk
all
to
right,
you,
we'll
my
see
friend.
you.
Thanks.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got accidents out there. There is one eastbound 70 approaching Natural Bridge. They've got the left lanes blocked. I just put that one up on X at Susan6768. Also, an accident northbound 270 past Dorset. Now, this one was on the right shoulder, but we really have a delay in that area because there's another accident westbound 70 past 141. That one started in the left lanes as well. So it's really crowded there and past the airport. Even westbound 370 is jammed, headed for 141. Also a slow go westbound on 364. We've got an accident reported just before Well, we'll call it past 94. It's really close to N, and there's a huge delay out there as well. Other than that, it's the usual volume. Westbound 40 slows at Kings Highway and pockets out through 270, and again approaching N. And southbound 270, slow pockets of moderate volume Page down through Gravois, and then it gets better. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Planning on getting Mark Gelman on there. By the way, I have to say this about Mark Gelman because yesterday, I'm getting a bunch of texts. It was my birthday. I didn't really want to celebrate because it's an uncomfortable birthday. They start with 6s now. But Mark Gelman, everyone else is just shooting a little text. He gets me a personalized video that he sent me saying hello and that we should get out and golf soon. So I love that. But look, I know Mark and Neil. I know that they can help you with your real estate needs because they're really good at what they do. They're professionals. They are absolutely passionate about this. And they know that the market is constantly changing, and they have options for you when it comes to buying or selling a home. For example, instant cash offers without the hidden fees. If you'd like to find out what your home is really worth for free, it only takes 30 seconds at thegelmanteam.com. You will go online, you'll see a banner that says, what is your home really worth? And if you're interested, you fill that out. It'll kick a price back to you. You can then take that to the Gelmans and say, hey, let's see if we can sell this for top dollar. Or they can obviously give you an instant cash offer. But if you want to create demand and multiple offers, that is still possible in this market. And if you're interested, by the way, in the success level that they have when it comes to the Gelman team, look, just go to the website at thegelmanteam.com. You have over 1,500 Google and Zillow 5-star reviews, 6,000 homes, $2.5 billion in real estate sold in this area. Call the Gelman team, 314-336-1991, or visit thegelmanteam.com.
Let's show our appreciation for local heroes. Mark Cox here. Nominate a first responder and their department could get lunch from Grill Master Tony's. I'll personally deliver it. Share their story at 971talk.com. Nominate them today. We all know spring weather means spring storms. Mark Cox here for Hanson's Tree Service. Now's the time to remove any dead or hazardous trees over your home before the spring storms bring them down. It's a great time to have an arborist come out and put together a plant health care program for your trees and shrubs. You can also order mulch and compost directly from the website and have it delivered to your driveway. Just go to hansonstree.com. Again, that's hansonstree.com.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
The pressure on data centers has never been greater. Whether you're expanding capacity, supporting AI workloads, or building new facilities, Graybar works alongside you with the solutions, specialists, and logistics expertise you need today. We help you power performance every step of the way, so your operation is ready now. Yep, Graybar does that.
Annie Fry here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They are the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Don't let tax refund worries hold you back. File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
So yesterday we were trying to get to the bottom of what they call these bump outs in downtown St. Louis, because what we noticed is, and we were not paying close enough attention to this because some of this has been covered in the media over the last couple of years, there was this, planning team that went into the recommendations for St. Louis streets, and I guess the recommendations are now turning into horrible results. So what we noticed, and you were the one that first picked up on this, on the east side of our building, right by where there's a KFC and a Papa John's Pizza, they're building these bump out things. So they're restricting the lanes of traffic, which used to be 4 lanes on Tucker, to 2 lanes, right? So if you're heading up and down north and south on Tucker, you'll find these things. Now, apparently there were some that were planned down by Keener Plaza and right by where the Hilton is, and they took those out.
Well,
and I have some audio that I'll share a little later in the show, because apparently that was creating an issue for the people that were trying to go into the
You're trying
hotel.
to go to the hotel.
But you had people. Now, look, this is where I will criticize the local media more than just a little bit, because this happened when you had the No Kings protest, the first one, not the second one. The second one seemed to have more people, but when they did the first one that was on the bridge over by the Tam Avenue Bridge, is that the one over by the zoo? There were literally like 15 people there, and the TV stations do coverage. Same thing with this. There were people that were literally protesting not the fact that the bump outs were going in, but that they were taking them out. And you had the weirdest people that were down there. They looked like a bunch of wackos, and there's like only 30 of them, and they're blocking traffic down at Keener Plaza. And then there was a reporter from Channel 4 that I'm not familiar with that did something on this. And I'll play the audio a little bit later because I don't have time right now. But when you hear the reaction of some of these people, like, what reality are you living in?
That's what I'd like to know.
Well, I don't think I have an answer for that. But we'll get to that. Also, I want to talk, I didn't have time here. The Diana Rossini situation is really interesting at The Athletic and her resignation today. That's going to create some media waves. And I want to read what her letter says, because she was rather defined in the letter. We have Sue's News coming up in the next hour. Kenny Wallace is back from his legendary trip to Europe this year. And we just want to hear the travel log and some of the things that he learned, because one thing that I can guarantee you, and Sue will vouch for this, we had so much fun watching his social media during this trip, right?
Yes.
And we had Kenny at, it might have been our third or fourth fish fry, maybe our third fish fry, and he came to that, and, we had a great time, so he's one of our favorites anyway. Josh Hammer, you hear his show on the weekend here on 97.1 FM Talk. On Saturdays at 1 p.m., he joins us after 5, and then it's Tech Talk Tuesdays. George Rosenthal will be here. We got a lot of interesting stuff. Some of it's related to AI and OpenAI in particular, because that's supposed to go for an IPO later this year, and the valuation is like $850 billion. And they need the money because they're burning through the money on all of the data center stuff. And we'll get George's take on that. So that's all coming up in the next couple of hours.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We now have a stall eastbound 70 past Cave Springs. Watch for that in the left lane. Already a mess on westbound and eastbound 70. Now, westbound is slowing at Natural Bridge because of an eastbound accident in that same area, and it's the eastbound accident in the left lanes. Then that westbound drivers are slowing for a look. Easy for me to say. It's also slow between there and an earlier accident approaching the Blanchette Bridge. We've got a huge jam on 370 headed for 141, and that's jamming up traffic around it. Northbound 270 jams trying to make it on to westbound 70. There was an accident on westbound 364 past 94. Other than that, the usual volume on 64, Kings Highway out through McCausland and a little out at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Moderate volume along southbound 270. But this is from Dorset down through Gravois. Fine on the Poplar, a little slow on the Martin Luther. Well, it's not bad on the King Bridge, but on the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-491-9914. 800-491-9914. That's 800-491-9914.
Accidents happen quickly, especially in rideshares. Whether you're the driver or the passenger, injuries can leave you with more than just physical pain. They bring uncertainty, stress, and questions about what to do next. At Kaufman Townsley, we understand the challenges you face. We're here to help you navigate the tough time, fight for what you deserve, and get you the support you need. Kaufman Townsley, real people, real results. Call 314-777-7777.
You voted, we listened. On Friday, April 24th, the Cardinals take on the Seattle Mariners, and Busch Stadium is going dark. That night, you will receive the all-new Cardinals jersey, Dark Mode, presented by Phillips 66. This fan-selected look was brought to life for the ballpark and designed to stand out in the stands. A limited giveaway you can only get at the game. Tickets and details at cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Victor Scott II. Get your tickets now at cardinals.com.
The weekend starts here. Grab your crew and kick it off at Friday Night Live at Busch Stadium. Every Friday night home game, Budweiser Terrace turns into the hottest happy hour in the Loop with $5 beers, $5 hot dogs, $7 margaritas, live music, and more all game long. Meet up with friends, soak in the energy, and keep the night going with baseball under the lights. Good vibes, great deals, your new Friday tradition. Get tickets now at cardinals.com.
The summer heat and humidity will be here soon. Is your air conditioner ready? This is Corey with Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. If your cooling system hasn't been checked to be ready for the warm weather, call Air Comfort Service. AC checks keep your equipment operating at maximum efficiency, prevent repairs, and extend the life of your equipment. For every AC clean and check booked in April, we'll donate a bag of pet food to Open Door Animal Sanctuary in House Springs. Stay in your comfort zone with a cooling system check from Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. Visit aircomfortservice.com. That's aircomfortservice.com.
Hey, it's Annie. Grab your clubs and head to Tamarack Golf Course on Friday, May 22nd for the St. Clair County Republicans annual golf tournament. Shotgun start, 18 holes, cards, contest, lunch, and great prizes. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
And Sue's News on a Tuesday afternoon. Coming up.
KFTK FM Florissant.
An Odyssey station.
Vacancies in the U.S. House. Lisa Brady, Fox News. Just before midnight, the resignation of Tony Gonzalez will take effect. The Texas Republican moving up his planned retirement under a threat of expulsion after admitting an affair with an aide who died by suicide. The Gonzalez letter read into the record by the House clerk.
The clerk also read California Democrat Eric Swalwell's resignation, which said expulsion without due process is wrong.
But it's also wrong for my constituents to have me distracted from my duties.
Governors Greg Abbott of Texas and Gavin Newsom of California have the option to decide when or if special elections for the vacated seats will be held.
Fox's Gernal Scott. Swalwell's resignation taking effect just hours after a woman publicly accused him of rape, adding to several misconduct accusers. He has said he'll fight false allegations. Day 2 of a U.S. blockade of Iranian ports, though last week's ceasefire appears to be holding as the U.S. pushes for more talks on a deal with Iran. The State Department hosting talks between Israel and Lebanon.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio hosted the ambassadors of Israel and Lebanon, marking the first major high-level engagement between the two countries since 1993. The talks come as Israel expands a military invasion into Lebanon to take out Hezbollah militants. A State Department spokesman says Israel expressed its commitment to work with the government of Lebanon to disarm and dismantle terror infrastructure in the country. Lebanon called for a full implementation of a ceasefire announced in 2024 and measures to alleviate a severe humanitarian crisis.
Fox's Jared Halpern. More talks are expected. A divided appeals court panel says a federal judge must end his contempt investigation of the Trump administration for failing to comply with an order to turn around planes carrying Venezuelan migrants to El Salvador last year. The judge accused the administration of intentionally violating his orders, but today's ruling calls the judge's probe intrusive. America is listening to Fox News.
I move mountains for a living. Literally. That means I don't carry hand lotion, and when it comes to serious heartburn, I don't mess around with anything but Rolaids. Rolaids' dual-active formula has calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide that relieves heartburn fast. Yeah, you heard right. 2 actives for that powerful relief. And the best part? The roll fits right here in my pocket, so I can get back to moving mountains.
Rolade spells powerful relief. Read each label. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
My name is Christine, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, was a healthy 34-year-old, and 3 months later, he was gone. Thankfully, he had life insurance. Ethos made it so easy. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. 100% online, no medical exam. Life insurance didn't take away the loss, but it did give us the space to just grieve.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. Ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Cloudy skies, windy and warm this evening and overnight. The hardcore thunderstorms are going to be way north and northeast. Not a concern for us. Just a slight chance of a spot thunderstorm here in the St. Louis area. Tough to find. 68. On Wednesday, changeable sky, mix of clouds and sunshine, windy with a couple of scattered showers, a couple of thunderstorms around, not a widespread rain event. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, Tuesday afternoon, we have Fred and Sue hanging out in the studio. Ethan's going to join. We have Sue's News on a Tuesday coming up. Also, our friend Kenny Wallace back from a European tour. Always fun to hook up with him. We can't wait to hear what he has to say in the segment at the bottom of the hour at 4:30. So that ought to be fun. Josh Hammer in the next hour, I believe, and then George Rosenthal for Tech Talk Tuesdays. What was that?
I said good.
Oh, I thought you said
Yay.
something else. I'm sorry.
Oh.
The headphones heard something else. One thing I never really got to yesterday, I just have to do this real quick because I think it's funny. So Mamdani, the New York City socialist mayor, had a news conference to announce some big things over the weekend. And the grocery stores. He's going to have city-run grocery stores, right? So listen to this here.
Today, we make good on that promise. I am proud to announce that we will open every single one of these stores by the end of our first term. And the first one will open next year.
Okay, so that's not apparently what's happening. So the first one apparently is not going to open until 2029. He claims next year. You can build a dome stadium in 3 years. But did you notice we're going to do all this by the end of the first term? No, he's not. And then he says this, of course, because he's a socialist.
I have thought often of the Margaret Thatcher quote. The problem with socialism is that you eventually run out of other people's money.
Yes.
If anything, my friends, it seems that you eventually need a socialist to clean up the mess.
Okay, really?
What?
That's
Wait a minute.
what
That doesn't even make sense.
I know it doesn't, but that's New York City, so they can have that. All right, this Diana Rossini story is really blown up this afternoon because she has resigned from The Athletic. Now, Ethan, you know this story, and a lot of listeners might not be familiar with who she is, but she is a reporter for The Athletic. She has a pretty good reputation as one of the NFL reporters, right, that covers the NFL for The Athletic as part of the New York Times. So what they did is they don't have their own sports department. They bought The Athletic, and The Athletic serves as that sports department. So what happened was a couple of weeks ago? Because this story's been out there just a little bit.
Yeah, it's probably been a couple of weeks now, maybe 10 days. But she wasn't just with The Athletic. She was ESPN. She did stuff for NFL Network.
Long career.
She is probably a top 3 most well-known writer, reporter in the NFL. She is huge.
Okay, so she's on vacation. New England Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel was there. There are pictures that get released. So I showed you the pictures. They could be interpreted in a couple of different ways, right?
Yeah, they don't look particularly incriminating to me.
But here's the difference, okay? So she is a professional journalist covering Mike Vrabel and the Patriots, right?
Mm-hmm.
That type of image, now going out to lunch with someone, I was just talking to Kevin Wheeler about this in the hallway from down on the KMOX side. You go out to lunch with someone, you have interaction at a party, you do a selfie or something like that. That clearly could be considered professional behavior. But the images, whether they were, indicative of a relationship or not, is kind of irrelevant because it does not look like professional behavior hanging out in your bathing suit with the head coach of the Patriots. It just doesn't. And, you're not a talk show host. You're not a host. You're a journalist. You're a reporter. There are border, lines that aren't to be crossed. But what's interesting here is she releases this statement today, and she doesn't, and I don't know if she apologized for anything in the first place. She doesn't really address the nature of the issue that people have with the professionalism. Now, here's what her letter to Steve Ginsburg says, who's the executive editor of The Athletic. Dear Stephen, please accept this letter as my resignation from The Athletic, effective immediately. I have come to this decision with deep sadness, but with clarity about what is right for me, my family, and the work I've spent my career building. You and I already have publicly addressed the recent attacks against me. I have nothing to add publicly to what we've said. I've covered the NFL with professionalism and dedication throughout my career. I stand behind every story I've ever published. When the Page 6 item first appeared, that's where this got reported, okay? The Athletic supported me unequivocally, expressed confidence in my work and pride in my journalism. For that, I'm grateful. In the days that followed, she says, unfortunately, commentators in various media have engaged in self-feeding speculation that is simply unmoored from the facts. Moreover, this media frenzy is hurtling forward without regard for the review process that The Athletic is trying to complete. It continues to escalate, fueled by repeated leaks, and I have no interest in submitting to a public inquiry that has already caused far more damage than I'm willing to accept. Rather than allowing this to continue, I've decided to step aside now before my current contract expires on June 30th. She says, I do so not because I accept the narrative that has been constructed around this episode, but because I refuse to lend further oxygen to it or let it define me or my career. Over a career spanning more than 15 years in sports journalism at NBC, ESPN, and The Athletic, to your point, Ethan, I have built a body of work I'm proud of. I've broken stories, earned the trust of sources across the league, been guided by the highest standards of professional conduct. That record speaks for itself. I'm grateful to The Athletic. I wish you nothing but continued success. Diana Rossini. So your indication, you think because she's at the top of her game, she's respected, that she'll get picked up by someone. But there is professional damage that's been inflicted here. And the one thing I think that does concern me is that she doesn't address that issue. Do you know if she addressed it previously? Because you can say this was innocent, but I understand that people might have some issues with whether or not this was professional behavior and kind of issue an apology for that. Did she ever do that?
Not that. Well, all I saw, and based off of how that read, was that she was continuing to deny that those rumors were true. The thing that was getting shared around so much was almost laughing at the fact that this was kind of brushed off as a we're just friends kind of situation. And I mean, you say what you want about it. It appears it could be definitely more than that.
The optics are bad. It
Right.
might not be anything.
Right.
It might not be anything at all.
But it's not, as you mentioned, the optics are not good. So that's, I think, kind of how it's being gauged. She kind of, like you said, pushed it off and said this didn't happen, is kind of what it seems like she's trying to
now,
say
Sue,
to me.
you saw the pictures. You know basically the facts, the framework of this. Do you think that she's been treated unfairly?
I don't
based
know.
on what you know?
I guess what bothers me is people interpret stuff. You know, if a story comes out and they just twist it one way or the other, and it's possible to do that with both of these photos. So I don't know what's real.
I think one of the issues might be, and this is where, she referred to The Athletic doing an investigation. I don't know if she's just pissed a bunch of people off, but what happened is that the rumors started getting fueled by other rumors because there's allegedly other people that maybe have had moments that are along these lines of being unprofessional with Rossini. I don't know that. But what I know is that people were feeding into that, to her point, and the rumors and the outrage were growing because of that. And, she said some things that are a little awkward about her husband in the past, so that kind of feeds into it as well. Ethan, do you have more on that?
Yeah, I think Dave Portnoy actually put out a very interesting perspective on this.
And I love him. So what did he say?
He quote tweeted. He said, "If we're just being honest, this explanation really makes zero sense. I don't think anybody should lose their job over alleged canoodling, but this statement makes it seem like there definitely was canoodling happening. An innocent canoodler would probably welcome a thorough investigation to prove their innocence and exonerate themselves."
I can't disagree with that.
He then finished with saying, "This screams guilty canoodler to me."
I hate to say it, but you know what? That's sort of my interpretation of the letter, especially because she doesn't address some of these things. And she knows that the narrative is getting out of control for her right now, so she put the kibosh on it. Now, if she's being unfairly treated, this is what happens with the legacy media. They're going to take these stories, they're going to run with it. We'll see if there are people that she knows she's built relationships with. My guess is that if she has nothing to be ashamed of, that she would go before a camera or do an interview and say, look, this is what, the story is, and I think I've been treated unfairly. But this is, immense damage to someone's reputation. There's no doubt about that.
Especially, I mean, like I said, it's not like this is some random local writer or reporter. This is, it's the National Football League. It doesn't get bigger than that in sports and just trending cultural news. And for someone that covers it so closely and is so involved around the entire league, this is to me, as far as media sports stories, just as big as Sharon Moore and everything that happened with the Michigan head football coach. That's how big this all is, in my opinion.
Yeah, that one I think was
wait
just
a minute.
more.
Wasn't that the one where he broke into the lover's apartment and threatened her?
I'm not saying the severity of it is the same. I'm saying the media's attention around it.
Well, wait a second, though.
Is as big.
But what you just said is interesting because your version of what happened is not exactly the version that he tried to,
he tried to backpedal it.
Well, look, I don't know exactly the story, but when I played that audio a couple weeks ago that came out, when they revealed the entire conversation that the cops had, I'm not taking up for this guy, okay? Because his behavior was reckless. And by the way, I think so was hers to a certain extent.
Well, yeah.
But his story was, look, there are commonalities here too, in my opinion, from this perspective. His story was like, look, man, she's trying to ruin my life. I wanted to get rid of her. I wanted to fire her, but she was blackmailing me. Well, dude, your penis came out of your pants, okay? You made a decision there, and there are consequences. Diana Rossini might be the same thing. This may have looked innocent, but that was not professional conduct. And if you're not addressing that, and the Athletic is looking into, and by the way, the Athletic's statement today was, we took this very seriously from the beginning, and we continued to look into it. So they're not exactly saying, we're so sorry here, Diana, that you're gone. I think that the parting of the ways was going to come one way or the other.
Yeah, just to further confirm, I'm not saying that like the severity of these are the same. I'm saying Diana Rossini's resignation letter had 1 million views in 30 minutes. That is crazy. This is going to grab huge attention in the same way that the Sharon Moore situation did.
I do not disagree. Sue's News is coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Thank you for letting me know on X about this. It's a stalled Lexus, and it's westbound 6440 past McKnight, and they've got the left lane block. Crews are on the way, and we've already got traffic that's stacked up essentially back past Kings Highway. There's a little break in there, but not much. Now, 70 has been awful. There's an accident westbound on the Blanchette Bridge. It's been blocking the left lanes. We've got a jam that goes back through Lindbergh. And that has put extra volume on 370 as drivers use that as an alternate. And it's jammed from 141 back through 270. So that's the worst of it tonight. Now, if you're headed into Illinois, there's a little bit of a delay headed for the Poplar Street Bridge, but it's not bad on the bridge itself. This report is brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Simply the finest when it comes to mirror glass and shower doors. They've got the most beautiful showroom in all of St. Louis, right there in Chesterfield Valley. There you'll see why they say creativity unlimited, quality unsurpassed. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Imagine this, a summer evening, relaxing under a beautiful porch overhang, hosting your friends on a composite deck, or enjoying a bug-free breeze in a screened room. That sounds dreamy, right? Hi, it's Kim, and that dream can be your reality with Lakeside Renovation and Design because they specialize in creating outdoor spaces that make your backyard the go-to spot for family and friends. And with their attention to detail and the high-quality materials they use, you'll have a space that lasts for years. Visit lakesideRD.com today to get started on your outdoor oasis.
New tax resolution firms are popping up every day with high-paid celebrity endorsers, advertising ridiculous claims in their TV ads. That's why they have the tiny, unreadable disclaimers at the bottom of the screen. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. Our ads never have those ridiculous, fast-talking, tiny disclaimers at the end because, simply put, there are no guarantees when it comes to the IRS and wiping out tax bills. And we don't make promises we can't keep. Of course, there are ways the Lance Drury Law Firm can help resolve your tax debt, but no company can guarantee it will eliminate it. This is why their clients call the Lance Drury Law Firm when those promises don't pan out. If you have tax problems, you have legal problems. Call me, Lance Drury in St. Louis, at 314-260-6120 or visit Lance, DRURYlaw.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
If you're considering buying or selling a home, when it comes to choosing the Gelman team with eXp Realty, numbers don't lie. Over 1,500 Google and Zillow 5-star reviews, nearly 6,000 homes, and $2.5 billion in real estate sold. 314-336-1991, thegelmanteam.com.
I'm Anna Garcia, host of True Crime News, the podcast. Every week, we bring you in-depth coverage on cases making headlines, as well as those that go under the radar. Tune in for murders that defy explanation, mystery seeking exploration, and shocking secrets that will leave you breathless. Each week, we honor the victims by going beyond the salacious in our search for justice. Crime never stops, and neither do we. Listen to True Crime News, available now on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I don't know if I'm going to have time to talk about Ricky Cobb today, but it was on my list. Maybe tomorrow. Do you know who Ricky Cobb is, Sue? If I just say that name,
no.
You know what he's responsible for. He's the guy behind Super 70 Sports
on
Twitter,
him.
and the New York Times did this piece, this profile on him, and it's just awesome. He kind of fell into this, and I will share it. I had it on the list for 404, but then we got into Diana's story. So, Fred, if I don't do that today, I'm going to make sure I do it tomorrow because it's really, really cool. Let's do this here on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm going to see if I don't screw it up.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Happy National Pecan Day. Is it pecan or pecan? Which do you say, Fred?
Pecan.
Mark?
Pecan pie. I don't really say it that way. I say pecan, too.
It's got to be regional, yes? Yeah. Pecan is what I say as well. It's also National Gardening Day. I like to garden. Fred, are you a gardener?
Nope.
Mark,
all I do is pull weeds.
No, I barely pull weeds.
Yeah, I can't. Okay.
I do not have a green thumb. No, if that's what you're asking.
Well, you like the lawn. You go in and out of lawn interest.
No, I have an interest in the lawn. It's just that I'm not actively cutting the lawn. The kid down the street is now. We bought a lawnmower. Remember what happened? I bought a lawnmower. I cut it for an entire year.
Yes.
And then the kid comes knocking from down the street. And because I'm so generous and I thought, hey, that little boy is doing what I did when I was that age, I said, yes, I would like for you to cut my lawn.
That's generosity.
It was a
That's
job.
What that was, Fred.
Yes.
I did a major weed extermination over the weekend. Where I just got all the rocks out of the flower bed or whatever, pulled all the weeds.
That's great.
Put down a barrier.
Okay, but
put all the rocks back.
Would you agree or disagree that for this time of the year, April 14th, 2026, the weeds are crazy?
Yeah, they are.
Usually
crazy.
they're not like this until the end of May.
That
They're
is
crazy.
gardening.
So I just finished all of that, and a guy 2 houses down was out with a blowtorch, just burning all the weeds on his lawn.
Oh, get me his name.
Oh,
can you really?
No,
because
don't
this is
do
what I'm
that.
faced with right now. The weeds are out of control, and I don't really want to take them all out because I got to lay mulch down too.
Yeah.
So I don't. Fred, what are you doing this weekend?
He is not
I
getting
still have
a
more of my own to
blowtorch.
do.
Oh my gosh.
I see, and I used to have the lawn crew do this, and they'd have probably 10 illegals around my room, and they would do around my yard, and they would do it in record time. And
Fred, does it leave it scorched? I mean, that can't be a good plan.
No, then he's going to, then he sprays it, and then he puts down new dirt, and then new grass, and he just starts anew.
But see, that would be easy to do in the mulch beds because you're burning the weeds, and then you just put the mulch over it. I need his blowtorch.
No, you do.
Yeah,
not.
I want a blowtorch.
I don't know where he got the blowtorch, but he had it hooked onto the gas thing that you use on your grill.
The propane tank.
Yeah, propane tank.
Hell yeah.
Okay, no.
I want to do this.
This is not
Tell me
a
where
good
I can
idea.
get guided into that deal. Or just give me his number, Fred.
You're going to burn the house down. That's what's going to happen. We're taking a tree down tomorrow. Somebody's taking a tree down for us. But
that's not cheap, is it?
Let me tell you, get 3 bids. And we found a guy locally that's
lower?
Yeah.
Wait till you see what your house looks like
every
day
tree-
after that, though.
No, the
Every tree is like $5,000.
No, it's less than that.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
With the stump, they get the stump out?
Yeah, we're getting the stump out.
You have to grind the stump.
Yeah, the stump will be ground.
Yes, okay.
And we're going to have some of the branches cut up to be for the fire
Oh, that's a
pit.
good idea.
Yeah. But everybody's happy because it's a sweet gum tree and nobody,
Why do they not like those?
Because all they do is drop gumballs everywhere, and you got to pick
Oh,
those
it's
up.
those.
the things that
like
evil.
Yes.
Twist your ankle on.
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Terrible. Okay. Where was I? And it's also National Look Up at the Sky Day. Now, we are encouraged to look up and admire the beauty above us. There's always one of those, Fred.
Well, we did it a lot more during Artemis.
Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I've done it a lot more. I was out last night, and it was beautiful last time. I'm looking at the sky, and every time I look up at the sky, it's really the last couple of weeks. It's been a bit of a different, perception because of Artemis.
That's really cool. On this day in history, 124 years ago, in 1902. J.C. Penney opened its first store, and it was in Wyoming. The C, by the way, stands for cash. So it's James Cash Penney is what J.C. Penney stands for.
I don't think I knew that.
Oh, yes. And I can't believe it's 124 years old.
I can't either.
Yes.
And are there, there was one over behind Gravois Bluffs that is where there's a, what do you call it, Pottery Barn outlet.
Yes.
And there's still a J.C. Penney over there, I think.
There is?
Boy,
yeah.
Do you remember your first J.C. Penney you went into? Mine was on Cherokee Street in South City. And that's where, I think, all through grade school, that's where my trousers were bought.
Trousers.
I love that.
Hey, I bet, I'm going to take a little stab here. I bet there was some velour that was purchased at J.C. Penney.
100%.
Yeah.
Listen, I can say nothing. Mine were the tough skins from Sears, the slim ones, and then my mother had to take them in because at the time I was skinny, and then it would just eat into your waist all day. It was terrible. I got problems.
That doesn't sound good.
Tough skins.
And then on this day in history, 114 years ago, it was in 1912. We talked about it when it took off, but the unsinkable Titanic collided on this day in history. 114 years ago with the iceberg on its maiden voyage and began sinking. 716 passengers survived. 1,517, that's 17 if I'm speaking English, drowned in the icy water. Wow. You know what? I have not been to one of those displays. They have like a traveling Titanic
I've
thing.
been there.
Ooh, I would like to. Was it
Where
good?
they have a wall that's like
Yes.
with water that's really the same temperature as the
That is
ocean
cool.
water.
Is Leo floating around out there?
And when you go into
Yeah.
when you go into the exhibit, they have you a ticket. They hand you a ticket.
Where did you do
And
this?
you find out. I think it was in the Ozarks.
Yeah,
Okay.
And you find out whether you live or die, whether you're one of the passengers
Really?
on the ship.
Your odds
yeah.
are not great.
Yeah.
They really are not. By the way, I did a history of the Lou with Sue and found out that somehow the St. Louis Post-Dispatch was the first to break this story.
On the Titanic?
Papers-wise. Yeah, because they had a guy on the ship that rescued who was left. And he was able to wire
the
the Carpathia, and he was somehow he worked at the Poster and was somehow able to get that information back before anybody.
That's
Isn't
an
that
interesting
pretty great
yeah,
story,
it
isn't it?
It is.
And on this day in history, 33 years ago, in 1991, Don Calhoun of Bloomington, Illinois, got a free ticket to the Bulls Miami Heat game from a friend. That's nice. Well, then a member of the Bulls promo staff approached him during the second quarter and said, "Hey, would you like to take the full court shot at halftime? You could win $1 million." He accepted. Do we have the sound from this? I can't remember if I turned it in.
For you. Here we go. Here we go.
$1 million? That young man being hugged has just won $1 million here at Chicago Stadium. And for Don Calhoun of Bloomington, Illinois, a $1 million thrill.
Now, something tells me that they didn't do the whole $1 million deal too often because, look, you don't even have stuff like that now. Right. That had to be probably what they do in a situation like that. They buy an insurance policy, and the odds are pretty much stacked against you that you're going to get that. But that seems like a hell of an award. Most of the reality TV shows that are out there, outside of Survivor, they don't even have a prize that's more than $500,000.
I know. There was some controversy, too, because it turns out this guy had played college basketball.
Oh.
And so they thought, oh, no. They tried to get out of it. But nope, they ended up having to pay. He was paid $50,000 a year for 20 years.
So they wouldn't even cut him the whole
nope,
check.
Wouldn't cut him the whole thing, but that's all right.
Yeah.
The reason, by the way, the staff picked him is because he was wearing shiny gold boots. So if you watch that or if you want to stand out at the game, get yourself some fancy shoes and they may pick you. All right, a study has found that on average, Americans spend 5 hours, 16 minutes a day on their phones. Good grief. But according to new research, the negative effects of all that screen time can be reversed. Researchers have tracked people who had blocked internet access on their phone. They were allowed to call and text, but no scrolling of any kind. After only 2 weeks, they call it a digital detox. Everybody's attention spans improved big time.
I would not challenge those results.
And here's the wild part. They say the boost was similar to reversing 10 years of age-related decline.
Wow.
So people also
That's
report,
interesting.
It is. People also reported having less anxiety. They felt better. And if you can't go the full 2 weeks, don't worry. One researcher said even taking a partial digital detox, just a few days, seems to work and improve yourself.
Does music count or not? Can I still play music on my phone?
I think you can.
Okay.
I think it's the scrolling.
It's the scrolling.
You know, the doom scrolling in general.
It's not healthy.
No, it isn't.
And then it's not even, it's more unhealthy if you do it on Facebook, because that's like the worst place you could ever be.
Well, there's that.
It really is.
One of the last surviving actors from The Wizard of Oz passed away on Sunday. Her name was Valerie Lee. She played one of the child munchkins. She was 94 years old, so I thought I would mention that. They think there's one left. She's 96-year-old Priscilla Montgomery Clark, who was also a child munchkin. And finally, in Sue's News, we have today's random fact. Andre the Giant was drafted into the French army in 1965, but he couldn't enlist because they didn't have shoes that were big enough, bunks that were long enough, or trenches that were deep enough. So they just said, nope, you don't have to do it.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? I just love him.
Yep, you got to go see The Princess Bride again.
Bride.
It is awesome. There you go. Hey, Kenny Wallace on the other side of Fox Business. Hang in there.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. Dow Chemical has named its chief operating officer, Karen Carter, to succeed Jim Fitterling as CEO starting July 1st. Carter has been with Dow since 1994 and in the COO role since December of 2024. Fitterling will move to the role of executive board chair. Various reports say that talks between the U.S. and Iran could restart this week. Those talks could get underway towards the end of the week or early next week. Positive momentum for stocks today on that news. Dow Industrial Average up 317 points at 48,536. NASDAQ added 455 and the S&P 500 added 81. Shares of Oracle and Bloom Energy were higher after the two announced a deal for more AI data center capacity. The deal will see Oracle procure 2.8 gigawatts of Bloom systems. Oracle has already raised over $100 billion in debt to support its scaling of data centers. Bloom shares were up 24% today. And that's Your Money Now.
What are you doing every day to support your liver? If you enjoy sweets, fast food, alcohol, or take any medications, that's a vital question to ask. Hi, I'm Sherry Torkas, pharmacist and health author. For over 30 years, I've helped people make informed decisions about their health, especially concerning prevention and long-term wellness. Supporting your liver isn't just a wellness trend, it's a daily essential. That's why I recommend Active Liver by New Nordic. It's made with plant-based ingredients like milk thistle, turmeric, and globe artichoke, herbs clinically studied for their protective and restorative effects on the liver. Active Liver blends traditional herbal wisdom with modern scientific research. Not all supplements are created equal. I trust Active Liver because it's backed by science, meets strict quality standards, and delivers true daily liver support.
Active Liver is available online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com. Or you can find it in stores at CVS, Meijer Grocery, Wegmans, and now Active Liver is available at your local GNC.
Many times, a person hires a law firm after an injury without doing research. It can be a big mistake or not. Sometimes, after you have hired a certain lawyer, you realize you made a certain mistake. But guess what? Just because you hire them doesn't mean you can't fire them. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you think you've hired the wrong firm, you may have. So do this. Google Morgan & Morgan results or visit forthepeople.com for cases just like yours. You may find that our full-service injury firm should have been your choice in the first place. Last year, almost 12,000 people discharged their law firm and hired us after further research. We became America's largest injury firm for a reason. Visit forthepeople.com today and let's get started. or call Pound Law on your cell phone. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Oh, man, I've really enjoyed getting to know Stuart Rosenblum. He's proud to own and operate one of the most, if not the most, consumer and customer-centric mortgage companies in the region. That's Stewart's American Mortgage Corporation. And he handles everything with his son, Jordan. So right there's a big difference. When you call, and I'm going to give you his cell phone number, you can call his cell, you can text him. You're not going to sit online. There's not going to be an AI bot that's going to first field your call and that gets sent somewhere else. You're going to have a real person here that you can trust in St. Louis that can guide you through a process that can save you thousands of dollars. Now, he has something called the bagel loan. He called it the bagel loan because it looks like a zero, and when you refi, and it's a great time to do that, you pay no appraisal fees, no closing costs, no title fees, no broker fees. But, Mark, rates are higher. I don't want to get out of this low rate. Well, again, you pay no appraisal fees, no closing costs, no title fees, no broker fees. And if you buy a home and take out a loan for $200,000 or more, the same applies, no lender fees. So check out the bagel loan. Stewie's the only one who offers this. One of the other big advantages is quick closes. He can share some stories where clients have really, really been saved even by that. And then when you're negotiating for a purchase, sometimes, of course, you need to show approval for a higher loan value. He's going to show you how you can change that pre-approval letter on your own. That's going to save you time and likely give you an advantage as well. Google the bagel loan or call or text his cell phone number, 314-324-4440. Stewart's American Mortgage. NMLS number 226715.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
4:33. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules. Built on backbone, not buzzwords. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Hey, Sue, remember back in the day when Matt Lauer was the host of the Today Show before, it was revealed that he had his door button and all that stuff and the Me Too stuff? They used to do this bit, where in the world is Matt Lauer, right?
Yes.
And we wouldn't know where he is, and he'd kind of show up somewhere on the Today Show and reveal a special location. That kind of reminds me of our friend Kenny Wallace, who was doing some international travel here in the last couple of weeks. We had him on in one of our fish fry broadcasts. He has now returned from Europe. He has successfully negotiated new terms from NATO. I think he wrapped up the Iranian war when he was over there. What else? Did you stop Putin as well, Kenny? I can't remember.
Okay, I got a mouthful to say. Can I say it?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, all right. Number one, 2 nights ago on Netflix, I watched Rupert Murdoch's family. The man that owns Fox News. News Corp,
right.
All right. One thing I learned about the Murdochs is that without them, there's no Republican station. Everything would be Democrats. ABC, CBS, NBC, everything. There's only one news station. Well, I mean, I guess you can say there's another one barely out there, but Rupert Murdoch is a Republican, and he owns Fox News because he wants to he wants to spread the Republican gossip. But it was a fascinating watch about his family fighting, But they've all got $3.6 billion each, so they're all doing good. Okay, that's number one.
I would say.
Okay, number 2. Here we go. While I was in Europe, I watched Al Jazeera, CNN International. I watched all those stations.
It's awful, isn't it?
They all hate Trump.
Yeah. There is not any resemblance to reality if you watch all that, is there?
No, but here, listen, I listened to you interview the most important people in the world. So I want to ask you a question. How do Republicans ever win? We've held the presidency more than Democrats. Are the people in America, are we that smart? Because there's no news stations except for Fox for Republicans.
Well, it's true. I mean, you have a lot of bias. I try to expose it, as you know, on a regular basis. But to your point, when I was in Europe the last 2 times, I was there in Greece a year ago, I was in Spain 3 years ago, and I will tell you, I happened to, especially last year, because it was, not too far after the election, it was the first term, I watched what I could just to kind of sample it in Greece, and I couldn't believe how, they were going to the normal talking heads at Harvard or some lefty professor, not really trying in any way, shape, or form to reflect the reality of what actually is happening in the United States. So I can understand that perspective, but that's kind of all serious stuff. Let's talk about some of the fun you had on this trip. What was the highlight for you, Kenny?
Yeah. I just had to get that.
No,
off
no,
my
I get
chest.
it.
So-
I get it.
So thank you. Okay, number one. The number one highlight was landing at the very end of my trip, landing in Frankfurt, Germany, getting a rental car, and going over to Nürburgring.
Yes. Right.
Okay, not Nuremberg. Nürburgring. It is a racetrack in Nürburgring, Germany. The most famous road course in the world, 13 miles. I made 6 laps around it. It was absolutely amazing. It was everything. It was scary because it's stuck in the old days. There's guardrails on both sides. So if you spin out, you immediately wreck. There's no runoff. So Formula One does not even race there because it's not up to date. However, that was number one. I could feel it. I could feel the history. Number two, I agree with you about Greece and graffiti. So
oh, my gosh, right?
Yeah, for you, I asked a guy in Greece because you know me, I'm a worldly and I'm
I
a
know.
talkative person.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, buddy, I put the Kenny Wallace, nice guy deal on. I'm like, hey, man, I said, how come the kids ride all over everything? Now I'm going to say this how he said it, but I won't cuss. He said because he says they're effing stupid.
Wow.
So the locals don't like it. I think these are. I don't know who these are. You don't see them riding, but every single piece of everything in
is
Greece.
graffiti.
Guys, that's so weird.
It's unbelievable. It really is. And the islands are so beautiful, and they don't have as much graffiti. But in Athens, in particular, it's just awful. It really is.
And the only time it cleans up is that's all downtown Greece, right? Athens, Greece.
Yeah.
But the only time it cleans up, so it's like New York City now. Now, remember, Mark, I know you know all this. I'm just saying it for your people out there. So the only thing that cleans it up is downtown, they take these metal, like, garage doors, and they close their business. And so the metal garage doors are all painted up. It's only when they open all these things by about 10, 11 o'clock in the day where the city cleans up a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I told you Nürburgring was number one. Number two was climbing that hill to Acropolis.
Oh, yeah.
And seeing the Parthenon. And, Athena, that Parthenon, Acropolis Hill, that was a gift to Athena, their god. And by the way, I want to give you a little information that blew me away. We went out there to Delphi, where, this stuff is 3,000 years old. And the guy, the tour guy, I said, let me ask you a question. I said, how do they know about all these Greek gods? And tell me about Greek mythology. He said, Kenny, it's all a myth. He says, these Greeks were little fat guys. He said what they did, he said they would chisel out these statues because that's what they wanted to look like. And I said, so it's all a lie? He goes, yes, it's all a myth. I'm like, I'll be damned.
Wow,
that's hilarious.
But you also let's hear about Italy, because I know you were really looking forward to Italy. You'd been in Rome before. You went to Florence. Florence is pretty cool, isn't it?
So pretty.
Yeah, Rome's still the greatest because Rome's real. The Vatican, St. Peter Basilica, Colosseum, the Forum. Florence was nice. I really enjoyed it. Went to a place to eat, had a great dinner there, saw the church. Was not going to stand in line to see the Michelangelo, of David.
Yeah, right.
The line was just too long. But, and then I want to go back to Greece for a minute. I really enjoyed the Olympic Stadium. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's cool,
That's
isn't
neat,
it?
you guys. How much of it is left? What's in it?
Well, it's all left. It's just kind of broken down.
Yes, the original. Now, this hurt my heart. It's going to hurt yours too. The original Olympic Stadium is gone. What they did is they kind of dug up the remnants and rebuilt it. It's still very old.
Yeah,
and they did hold the Olympics there. In some of my Facebook posts, I showed, how they opened up the Olympics compared to what it is right now. But yes, and then back to Rome, got on the train, so we went, let me see, we went London Heathrow, we went Greece, we went Sicily.
Oh,
I've never been
not
there.
been.
Yeah,
I haven't
there
been.
either.
Yes, Sicily was great. We were perched in the side of this mountain. Taormino, is that where I was? Man, it was just awesome. And how these homes are just bolted in the side of these small mountains overlooking the ocean. And they really believed in theaters back then, outdoor theaters, 3,000 years ago. But yeah, I'm going to tell you what, I had the time of my life, wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, but you know what's sad is I fulfilled my dream. I'm Europed out. I've been there 2 years in a row.
Yeah, you have been there 2 years in a row. Yeah, so what's next? Do you have anything else that you're curious about? Asia. I used to not be interested in Japan or, parts of Asia. I have a little bit more curiosity about that right now. I really want to go to Croatia. That's where I'm trying to go next year.
Yep.
Well, Dua Lipa, she loves Croatia. She's a good-looking singer.
I'm very aware. I love. That makes me even want to go more. I love Dua Lipa. For you to drop a Dua Lipa reference is fascinating to me.
Oh man, I love
do
Dua
too.
Lipa.
Yes,
Wait, you guys, I have a Nuremberg ring question, Kenny. Is it anybody who pays can drive out there? Were you up against people who didn't know what? Isn't that dangerous, or was it okay?
Yes, you had to listen to my Facebook deal. It's nuts because the Nuremberg Ring is run by the German highway police. So when there's a wreck, okay, you pay to go on it. Everybody got a helmet and everything, but you pay to go on it. So if there's a wreck, you're automatically 40% your fault because you decided to go on the racetrack.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, it's like, okay, this is a racetrack. You're going on. No matter what happens, you're going to be a little bit at fault here. So it's all of a sudden like, red flag comes out. You got to stop. You can't race anymore. And all of a sudden, here comes the German police off the city street onto the racetrack.
You're kidding me.
No, then they pull over, and then they say, okay, what happened here? And then they look at cameras, and they decide who's 60% fault. It's insane, and I had to get used to that. And you pay per lap. So I had a BMW. I come off the last corner, and I'm wide open. And I get to about 145, 150 mile an hour. And now I got to slow down because they got a gate that's down. You got to pay every time you make a lap. So that's the reason I was...
You said, I think I saw in your video, you took it to about 150 miles an hour,
That's
right?
what he said. He was wide open.
Yeah.
Hey, Kenny, why can't you pay in advance? Like, I want to do 5 laps. Here it is. You have to stop at the gate every time?
Yeah, it's crazy, Sue. So you're like, hey, man, I'm going to buy 20 laps. It don't matter. You got to stop every single lap. No different than getting on the log flume at Six Flags. You can stay on it, but you're going to stop every time.
That's fascinating.
Gosh.
Well, we're glad that you survived European travel. We did really enjoy. We talked about you when you were there because we really liked the social media stuff. You were posting a lot of pictures and doing some fun stuff. That's always great. I have to ask you about something that you posted this morning because someone at Nashville Care, I just love to hear his response to this. Someone said, interesting to see Kenny Wallace, a.k.a. the Lesser Wallace, chiming in on Nashville from the comfort of his lazy boy chair in Missouri. Let's see how taking shots at our mayor for keeping his campaign ethos of no more taxpayer dollars for stadiums works out for them. What the hell happened here? You pissed some people off in Nashville, Kenny?
Hey, read my response. Read my response.
I don't have that. I didn't take a screen capture. What was your response?
Well, my response is, yes, I am the Lesser Wallace, and yes, I am crazy, but not enough for you. You responded to me, so I win.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yes.
I like that as a victory.
I'm everything you said. I'm crazy. I'm lesser, but damn it, you still had to respond to me, so I win. So what that's about? What's that about? It's a Democrat deal once again. They built a soccer stadium, and the soccer stadium's awesome, and it's right next to the legendary fairgrounds, and they're still racing there. Well, the guy that built, the soccer stadium, no different than the one we got here. It's just like it. They want to take over everything, and they want the racetrack gone. And it's a bunch of Dems, they don't want no noise and this and that. And like when it started, the guy building the soccer stadium was like, we understand the history of the racetrack and we want to support it. Well, now that he's wiggled his way in there,
of course,
so now he wants the racetrack gone. Well, Dale Earnhardt Jr., our most famous driver, the man that owns the Bristol Motor Speedway, the Charlotte Motor Speedway, they said, look, we'll put barrier walls around it, and Nashville's got it going on. So anyway, in my video, I said, is ass, can I say that?
Yeah, you just did, but yes, that's okay.
Because it's a donkey's butt.
Uh-huh.
So I said the mayor needs to get his head out of his ass. And so that was one of his little secretaries firing back on me. And I loved it because and I love it.
You got this. You got their attention when that happens, right?
Yeah, but she had to watch the video, so she had to understand it all.
Yeah, I love it. That is great. Great to have you. We're going to hit baseball games soon. How's that sound?
I love you guys. How about Jordan? Hey, it's kind of like we're not doing good, but we'll get some home runs, baby.
Dude, Jordan
That's
Walker.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take what I can get for sure. We'll see you, Kenny.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got a jam on westbound 370. We had a lane down at the Missouri River, and it looks like they've moved whatever it was off onto the right side where they're doing some road work, but we still have a jam back through 270. Also jammed is westbound 70. It's slow past the airport, but there was an accident reported just before 270, and that's causing a delay. They cleared the one on the Blanchette Bridge, and then things open up. Southbound 170, heavy and slow. Olive down through 64. Southbound 270, slow pockets from 70. Really all the way down through Gravois. Westbound Manchester is just jammed at 141. And out west, 64 in the city is slow pockets approaching Kings Highway out through Lindbergh, but then it really jams west of Winghaven through 70. And there's a jam on eastbound 70 on the Illinois side at 64 due to road work. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
What's happening now?
We must have the enriched material out of Iran. Quote, a lot is happening today and tomorrow. We have all the ingredients for a deal, but it's not all there yet.
97.1 FM Talk.
For the last 33 years, you've discovered that at Banner Construction, we pride ourselves on quality craftsmanship. We believe the single most important decision homeowners must make when considering an exterior restoration project is who do you hire. At Banner, we provide well-engineered, meaningful, long-term solutions to transform your home into the pride of the neighborhood. Let us help you fall in love with your home all over again. Call or visit bannerconstruction.com and have a banner day.
Hi, this is Steve Butts from the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. In 2026, our agency celebrates a momentous occasion as we celebrate 65 years of service to our clients, a tribute to our founder and my dad, Norm Butts. Our staff is ready to assist you with all your insurance needs. So please call me, Steve Butts, at 314-752-2500 or at crawfordbutts.com. For auto, home, and commercial insurance needs, that's crawfordbutts.com.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group, as they show you how to create a worry-free retirement. It's Tuesday, April 28th at the Doubletree Hotel in Chesterfield at 6:30. Here are Thomas and Bob with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired and would like to know how to turn your 401k and IRA into a worry-free retirement? Would you like to learn the investment strategy that gives you market growth while avoiding the market losses at the same time?
Would you like to get your free personalized retirement income plan? Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free and have a worry-free retirement? If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Have a worry-free retirement and join the official financial advisors of my show, Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw. It's at the Doubletree Hotel in Chesterfield, Tuesday, April 28th at 6:30 p.m. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
This is Tom Ackerman for Ophthalmology Associates. You know, the doctors, or just the best doctors to see for your best vision in St. Louis. 314-966-5000, the doctors. They've treated more than 250 doctors. That's more than any other practice. Dr. Greg Birdie, Dr. Ranjan Malhotra, Dr. Robert Bersati, Dr. Andy Royer. 314-966-5000 is their phone number. 314-966-5000. Dr. Birdie, Dr. Malhotra are cornea surgeons and experts in diagnosis and treatment of diseases of the eye, dry eye, allergy eye, cataracts, macular degeneration, glaucoma, LASIK surgery. The Doctors of Ophthalmology Associates, experts. Call for an appointment today, 314-966-5000, or visit them online, youridoc.com, 12990 Manchester Road, quarter mile west of 270. 314-966-5000 or youridoc.com.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it with a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis Conservative.
You know, Sue, I think we both share, well, a lot of the country does too, fascination and a little bit of a passion for these true crime stories that, you know, get solved, especially in the decades after they take place.
I love it when they catch them.
Yeah, and we have an example of that today from right here in St. Louis. So in October of 1992, this is from our local paper today, a 14-year-old girl was walking home from Parkway North High School after a soccer game when a man pulled her into a wooded area and sexually assaulted her. Now, more than 33 years later, they announced earlier today in a news conference they've caught the guy who did it. They think he could have assaulted more victims. The person who was in charge of the news conference, Lieutenant Colonel Jerry Laura, said, unfortunately, in this case, the victim, who was 14 at the time, suffered an unimaginable attack and had to live with this for the last 33 years. So this guy's name is Miguel Canizares. He was arrested in Houston, where he now lives. He's going to be extradited to St. Louis County. He lived here until about 2015. At this point, he is charged with 2 counts of sodomy, 1 count of first-degree sexual abuse. This was a case that was, and we've heard, Melissa Price-Smith, our St. Louis County prosecutor, talk about the cold cases, right?
Yes.
Well, this was the new cold case unit that was led by John Bradley, who's a detective. A few months ago, they identified this guy as a suspect. They didn't really say how, but they credited advances in forensic technology. So he says, we used all this technology that we had available in us in order to put this puzzle together. So, look, this could be, and they're not really telling us what happened, was if there was DNA that was from that particular crime and they ran it through these 23andMe.
Oh, you know I love this.
Yeah, I like it too. Now, that's somewhat controversial, but something tells me that that's maybe what they did. So they say that they do not believe that he knew the girl before the attack. They also say they think there are other victims in not only this state, but in other states where he lived, Texas, Florida, and Louisiana. So they've contacted, police departments down there. This is the second case that the cold case unit has solved. In September, you might remember this, they had, and we had Melissa on when this happened, the 1980 killing of Margie Marie Walsh, who was killed. I think that was the one that was at the Baskin Robbins, wasn't it?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, but it was way, way back in 1980, and they say, I'm sorry, they have announced, we talked to Tim Fitch about this, a suspect has yet to be identified in that case, but they reopened it. That's what happened there. So I guess in this particular situation, the FBI helped, and I just wish they'd tell us what happened, but I guess you don't want to give all the bad guys the tricks to what you're doing. But look, how many people out there, and I didn't talk about this yesterday, but there's a really interesting story that was in the New York Times about these two. One was a reporter and one was another woman on Long Island who knew this Rex Sherman guy, the Long Island Gilgo Beach killer.
Cow.
So when he gets arrested a year and a half ago, whenever that was, and he pleaded last week guilty, they both call each other and they're like, did you hear the Gilgo Beach? Can you even imagine something like that happening? It's your neighbor or it's somebody else or you're related to that person and all of a sudden this comes out?
I tell you what, the older I get, the more trauma I realize that people have endured. I realize we're talking about murder, but the sexual assault aspect of this and how it can damage people, it's outrageous.
Well, and I'm encouraged that you can still, because you have statute of limitations and stuff like that, but let's hope that this guy can still be punished.
Yes.
It sounds like he will be.
Good.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got just a serious jam on westbound 370 headed for the bridge tonight. So if you're in that area, expect a slow go. We've got a jam on northbound 141 trying to make that merge onto westbound 70. We've got southbound 270 lined up approaching 370 down through. Looks like it goes really all the way in pockets down through Gravois. I don't know why traffic is this bad. It's not the weather. Westbound 70 slow past the airport and again at 94. 64, well, that's a slow go. It's approaching Kings Highway in pockets. There was an accident reported eastbound at 270. And then westbound picks up again west of Wing Haven out through the 70 split. Now, it looks like we've got some volume on westbound 44 in the Shrewsbury area. 55 isn't that bad. It's a little slow headed toward Bates. Headed into Illinois, there's some volume, especially coming off the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge. And 64 eastbound slows at 157. That due to road work. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I want to talk about Game Day Men's Health, and I don't even think I've shared this before, but it's kind of an interesting story. Evan Miller is the guy who founded Game Day Men's Health, and he personally experienced the effects of low testosterone, and he thought it was very difficult to find a place that really spoke to him. He thought the clinical environment was very cold, unfriendly, a little sketchy, if you will, so he wanted a place where the average guy feels comfortable in the physical space, and that's what they do at Game Day Men's Health. You're going to find friendly, knowledgeable folks, sports on the screens, fast appointments, and he also wanted to treat the source of men's health problems with personalized care, and that's exactly what they do. Matt Lawrence has a great location out in Chesterfield. Game Day has been growing across this country and all of North America. They really are leading edge, and they're redefining men's health with personalized doctor-led treatments. They have their own pharmacy at Game Day. They have therapists that are unbelievably informed, and they're still offering you a free testosterone PSA test with an hour appointment where the blood work is back in like 20 minutes and you get a consultation. Now, maybe it's not low T that you're interested in. It could be vitamins and peptides and things like that. But explore Game Day. Make an appointment out there in Chesterfield at 6440 Clarkson and Olive. Check online at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Tell Matt Lawrence, if you talk to their team out in Chesterfield, that you heard about it right here on 97.1 FM Talk. You're really going to feel comfortable. Even if you've never tried another clinic before, check out Game Day because they are top-notch and leading edge.
Mark Cox here. I want you to call my heroes at Zero Res and beat the spring cleaning rush. That way you step into a fresher, cleaner home this spring. This week, you get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129. You can call them at 314-474-2020. This is a great time to get cleaner carpets, fresher floors, and improve the air quality in your house. Go online at ZeroResSTL.com. Make sure to ask for the 97.1 special.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to hear you.
Hey, Dad, isn't it good to see ya?
Yep, but with smoke alarms, we need to hear them. If one alarm is downstairs, you might not hear it upstairs.
At school, everyone hears the fire alarm.
That's why we install hardwired smoke alarms that all go off together, just like school.
Smoke alarms done the right way.
Green is always grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Your home is your sanctuary. Get the peace of mind you deserve with a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter. They're the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. With expert installation and 24-hour monitoring, Generator Supercenter won't leave you in the dark. Financing is available. Take control of your power today with Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. Call 314-499-2020. That's 499-2020 or GeneratorSuperCenterofStLouis.com. That's GeneratorSuperCenterofStLouis.com.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
Let's make a deal. I'm Tom Rigotti, Fox News. President Trump is hinting a deal between the U.S. and Iran could be coming soon. That's according to UN Ambassador Mike Waltz. This as the U.S. naval blockage of Iranian ports continues. Fox's Greg Palcott reports.
The naval blockade imposed on Iran by the U.S. seems to be holding. U.S. Central Command says in the last 24 hours, no ships have left Iranian ports and entered the Strait of Hormuz. They add that 6 ships have obeyed the imposed halt and returned to Iranian ports. The blockade is aimed at halting Iran's oil trade, opening up a mostly closed strait, and getting ceasefire talks moving again. President Trump told the New York Post today talks could resume within the next 2 days in Pakistan. Vice President Vance told Fox News Iran's suspect nuclear program was a main sticking point of last weekend's negotiations. In London, Greg Palcott, Fox News.
The ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran is set to end next Tuesday. The House is back in session, but at least 2 reps are leaving the chamber. Fox's Bill Malugin is on Capitol Hill.
California Congressman Eric Swalwell, he announced yesterday that he is resigning from Congress amidst these sexual misconduct allegations. He's also suspended his campaign for governor of California. Then on the Republican side of the aisle, you've got Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez, who is facing his own sexual misconduct allegations with a former staffer. He announced he's going to be retiring from Congress, and he's expected to resign imminently. And there is also the potential for Florida Representatives Sheila Sherfless McCormick and Corey Mills to both be expelled from Congress for their own alleged misconduct. A House Ethics Committee investigation already found McCormick violated House rules, and she is facing DOJ charges for allegedly stealing FEMA money.
Another woman came forward today to accuse Swalwell of drugging and raping her in 2018. America's listening to Fox News.
I move mountains for a living. Literally. That means I don't carry hand lotion, and when it comes to serious heartburn, I don't mess around with anything but Rolaids. Rolaids' dual-active formula has calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide that relieves heartburn fast. Yeah, you heard right. 2 actives for that powerful relief. And the best part? The roll fits right here in my pocket, so I can get back to moving mountains.
Rolaid spells powerful relief. Read each label. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Cloudy skies, windy and warm this evening and overnight. The hardcore thunderstorms are going to be way north and northeast. Not a concern for us. Just a slight chance of a spot thunderstorm here in the St. Louis area. Tough to find. 68. On Wednesday, changeable sky, mix of clouds and sunshine, windy with a couple of scattered showers, a couple of thunderstorms around, not a widespread rain event. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, we have the entrance for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame officially announced. Billy Idol got in. I know our friend Tim Summer is very excited about that. He's close with Billy. Billy's coming in the fall here to St. Louis. Tim's going to probably join us on Friday to run down the nominees. He's now a voting member for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I had a little audio to share here a little later. We have Tech Talk Tuesdays with George Rosenthal from ThrottleNet coming up, plus an audio cut of the day. I started this afternoon with some audio from Riley Gaines that I really liked, and I even got a like on it from Riley Gaines. I feel very special about that. I love Riley, and if you're not familiar with the topic that she was chiming in on, that's the president's portrait that was put up on Truth Social depicting him as a doctor, he says. I think it was a little different, and I'm on Team Riley and her position on that. But we'll get to that. I think that's going to come full circle here with audio cut of the day toward the end of the show. Josh Hammer back with us, Newsweek's senior editor at large. He's the host of the Josh Hammer Show. You hear that on the weekends, Saturdays, 1 p.m. right here on 97.1 FM Talk. Josh, welcome back. How are you this afternoon?
Mark, I'm doing just fine, my friend. Always great to chat with you.
I want to ask about a variety of things, but I have not gotten into on this show the whole issue with Hassan Piker. And I was wondering if you could help my audience understand who this despicable human being is and why he's speaking at Yale tonight.
Well, Hassan Piker has been around for a while. It's somewhat curious, other than the Yale event tonight, as to why he's making it back in the news. I guess Democrats are kind of having an open civil war as to whether or not he is within the bounds of legitimacy within the Overton window. Hassan Piker is I think of him as kind of a Noam Chomsky or Howard Zinn on steroids. So these are kind of the older school of Cold War era leftists who were essentially, to various degrees of openness, rooting for the Soviet Union over America because they fundamentally hate America and hate Western civilization. Hassan Piker is a younger 21st century Muslim radical Islam sympathetic version of that.
Yeah.
So he openly says that America deserved 9/11, that Israel had a coming on 9/11. He has doubled and tripled down the fact that he would prefer Hamas to Israel. But it's not just the anti-Semitism. I mean, this guy is radically anti-American. I mean, he wants to see terrorist attacks here. He wants to see bad things happen here. He's actually called for the killing. He's called for violence and for the murder, if I'm not mistaken, against our senator here in Florida, Rick Scott, which is just astonishing that an Ivy League school like Yale would host someone who was openly called for the murder of a United States senator.
So yeah, I have some audio examples here.
I hate Republicans. I oppose them. I say that all the time. I think that the Republicans are far more damaging. The biggest terrorists, the biggest domestic terrorists in this country, the biggest terrorist internationally is the Republican Party. And not only that, but it's just like I want to fight against the growing fascist movement in this country.
I mean, what he said there is just so ridiculously stupid.
When you say Hamas is 1,000 times better, do you actually mean that? Or is that a rhetorical move or like a solidarity signal?
I do mean it. I think it's a rhetorical move because it frustrates a lot of people. I've also said I'm a harm reduction voter. I'm a lesser evil voter, and therefore I would vote for Hamas over Israel every single time because I'm looking at the situation as a paramilitary organization that has like a political party as well.
All right, Josh, and you know that we've got folks on the right that are doing some things right now that are a little dangerous, and you and I have talked about Tucker and Megyn Kelly and some of this nonsense. This is maybe part of that version on the left, but you have candidates in Michigan and elsewhere that don't want to distance themselves from this guy because they're afraid of what their constituents might think. Is that really part of the equation?
It is. It literally is part of the equation. In fact, one of the candidates up there in Michigan for Senate, if I'm not mistaken, actually said that and this was reported by Alana Goodman at the Washington Free Beacon. It was a great bit of reporting. She actually reported that this radical Muslim guy in Michigan, actually said that he would refuse to take a stance on the killing of Ali Khamenei, the Ayatollah, because there are people in the state, especially in Dearborn, who supports Ali Khamenei.
I played that audio last week. It's just unbelievable that that's happening in America, right?
It's really astonishing. Yeah, I mean, there's so many examples. It's hard to even know where to start at this point. I mean, Luke Rosiak, who's a great journalist at the Daily Wire, he uncovered the fact that there was a mosque just outside of Washington D.C. that had a night honoring the martyr Ali Khamenei. This stuff is here, and the tragedy is that elected officials of both partisan stripes have been complicit in bringing a lot of this highly unvetted people from around the world into this country. And I think this really is what led to the election of Donald Trump in the first place, Mark, is that people just looked at a lot of this and they said, enough is enough. Is that look, America has long welcomed immigrants, and we're not going to be hostile to immigration necessarily in the long term, but you have to actually like the country. You have to actually want to be a part of we the people, of which the Constitution's preamble speaks. And that was what held immigration together during such waves as the Ellis Island immigration wave, which when my ancestors came back in the late 19th century, early 20th century there. That's just not the case for a lot of what's happening here today. Now, the left, elected Democrats, are having something of an open civil war, as I said, about Hassan Piker. So Ro Khanna, out in California,
right?
He's defending Hassan Piker, or at least he's defending at least the legitimacy of Hassan Piker. You have various others like John Fetterman representing a more sane perspective. But the fact that this party has a lot of notable people that think that Hassan Piker is part of the conversation, that is just astounding. It's just utterly astounding. I think you'd be pretty hard-pressed at this point to find a Republican elected official, especially now that Marjorie Taylor Greene is no longer in office. You'd be pretty hard-pressed to find someone on the Republican side in Congress who would welcome Candace Owens at this point into the conversation.
I think that's true.
Right?
By the way, Ro Khanna, he's like one of the more sane ones over there, which makes it even more baffling.
Yeah, no, believe it or not, Ro Khanna actually made his bones as something of a Silicon Valley moderate. So, I mean, the fact that he has gone all in on this, it's just utterly crazy. There was a recent Pew poll on the Israel issue specifically, and they kind of broke it down by party. Republicans still remain overwhelmingly supportive of close U.S.-Israel ties, but Israel's approval rating just for Democrats here in the United States was catastrophically low. And, there are some bitter clingers, people like Debbie Wasserman Schultz here in Florida, the former DNC chair, who are still saying, oh, our party is still a pro-Israel party, a pro-Jewish party. But it's obviously not true. It is obviously transparently not true.
That strains credibility for sure. Josh Hammer back with us this afternoon. You can hear his show at 1 p.m. on Saturdays on 97.1 FM Talk. What is your current assessment of the situation in Iran? I know that's a broad question. There's political aspects here with energy prices in this country, but how do you think this is going? we're outside of this 4 to 6 week window now, which I think makes it a little tricky.
Well, look, I think what we're currently seeing right now is essentially a ceasefire in name only. It is technically a ceasefire, I guess, insofar as the U.S. and Iran are not directly trying to hit each other, but the U.S. is blockading all the Iranian naval ports. I do not think that this ceasefire is going to last particularly long. In fact, Mark earlier today, I was a guest also on Lara Trump's show, the president's daughter-in-law, and that's essentially what she said too. She essentially said that she expects a full resumption of conventional military hostilities sooner rather than later. That's what I've been saying at least since the breakdown of the talks in Islamabad, Pakistan this past weekend. So it seems to me like it's only a matter of time. Look,
I agree with you on that, but then where does that take us? That would be, that's where I'm a little curious.
So, look, I mean, my stance on this all along is that the objective of Epic Fury is the neutralization of Iran as a threat to the United States and our interests. To be clear, we have already taken tremendous steps towards accomplishing that. There are a lot of people saying, oh, Iran is winning the war, and that's obviously not true. I mean, we've essentially destroyed their entire Air Force, their entire Navy. There are two major things that I can pinpoint to saying the job is not quite done. Perhaps most important is the fact that Trump's been obsessed with their nuclear ambitions for decades. They still have hundreds of kilograms of enriched uranium. That has to go. That has to go one way or the other. And the other, slightly lesser important, but still pretty important thing, is that although it's been seriously degraded, they still have lots of missiles and drones. And we know because they tried to hit Diego Garcia, the joint American-British military base in the Indian Ocean. They tried to hit it a few weeks ago. That's 2,500 miles away. So they have that kind of range. I mean, that
that's
puts
significant.
That puts the entire European continent,
Right.
or at least most of it, in play. So that can't stay either. So those are the two things. I'm not talking here about boots on the ground. We're not talking about some sort of utopian version of regime change. That's never been, personally speaking for myself, that's never been my hope for this operation. My hope is just the neutralization of the threat, and that means getting rid of the conventional military abilities, the ballistic missiles, and above all, the nuclear program.
Let me take you to something here domestically that's not getting enough attention. You've been tweeting about it and talking about it and deserves attention. It's this report that came out, I think it was even just today, on the FACE Act from the Department of Justice. The FACE Act is the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, and they looked at what the Biden administration did during their term, and some of the stuff, and Todd Blanche commented on it, the acting attorney general, is just outrageous what they did, collaborating with pro-abortion groups to track pro-life activists and do some other things that were just disgusting in government. My concern is this is not going to get enough attention, and it deserves a lot of attention, Josh.
It does. And this is one of those things that we could tell was happening when it was happening, but it's really nice that the current DOJ has released this meticulously crafted 900-page report, essentially explaining in detail how the Biden-era DOJ under Merrick Garland worked hand in glove with pro-abortion activists. At times, they actually were actively lobbying for them to get additional taxpayer funding, and how they were doling out wildly disproportionate sentences, and how they were actually giving much harsher sentences to pro-life protesters, peaceful protesters, grandmothers, for God's sake, praying peacefully outside of abortion clinics. The FACE Act, it's true, it technically does include abortion clinics and pregnancy centers as part of the description. It's really about house of worship, though. That was the real above all goal of the FACE Act. And it was drafted in the 1990s during the Bill Clinton, and around the same time as a statute called RFRA, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. And it was kind of a pinnacle, an apex of religious liberty in America. So that was the idea of the FACE Act, was to protect access to house of worship. That's why a lot of us wanted to see Don Lemon prosecuted after the stunt that he pulled in January. Exactly. That was under the FACE Act. That is what the statute is here for. It is not here to throw peacefully praying 90-year-old pro-life grandmothers in jail. So now we have the imprimatur of legitimacy of the U.S. DOJ saying that that's actually exactly what Merrick Garland did. And again, we knew it was happening while it was happening. Now it's great to have additional corroboration. I guess the only thing that's still remaining, Mark, is the all-important question as to whether there will be some sort of justice and accountability there. And that's a much more complicated question.
I would encourage, because I've only had a short time to go through this report, and as I indicated, it's 800 pages. But look, there is interesting information, and it's sad because what happens is with this news cycle, this is one of those things, even with conservative media, because of the war and everything, probably won't get enough attention. And I'd be shocked if it's even mentioned on ABC or NBC or MS Now or any places like that. Eric Swalwell, Josh Hammer, what would you say? This is interesting. The Democrats are claiming that, we had no idea that this guy was such a sleazebag. Are you kidding me?
Mark, I dug up this article from CNN.com in 2017. It was from November of 2017, right around the time of the Harvey Weinstein Me Too movement kind of reaching its crescendo. And buried deep in the CNN article, like 9 or 10 paragraphs in, is a pretty astonishing admission where they basically say CNN has talked with over a dozen sources who say that a certain California congressman has been engaged in serial sexual harassment and abuses. This was almost 9 years ago now. This was not a well-kept secret. I mean, the whole Fang Chinese spy imbroglio should have been a gargantuan red flag if there ever were such thing as a red flag. So, the relevant questions, I suppose, were on the one hand, who knew what and when did they know it? And I don't buy for a second, by the way, that the entire San Francisco Democratic establishment, that includes Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, they all knew. Each and every one of them knew there. And of course, the other question is, why now? And the answer to that, I think, is pretty obvious. You got this California gubernatorial primary in this jungle primary system where the top two candidates for a lot of the polls have actually been Republicans there. I think Democrats starting to freak out. They saw an opportunity to try to consolidate the field there. And that, I think, is why we're seeing right now what we're seeing.
It's that opposition research folder that they have on everybody. Probably even, well, you for sure, because people go after you all the time, but probably even me. Josh, awesome to have you on, and we'll talk soon. Appreciate it.
You bet, Toss.
All right, that's Josh Hammer, and you hear his show every weekend here on 97.1 FM Talk, 1 p.m. Saturday.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
MoDOT reporting a stall eastbound 44 at Washington. So I would assume that's the exit ramp there, and they say part of that ramp is closed, so just watch out if you're traveling through there. We've had several accidents today. Now, westbound 370 is jammed between 270 and the bridge. We've got southbound 270 essentially with slow pockets from 370 all the way down through 55. Yeah. Now, westbound 70 continues to be a slow go from about Natural Bridge through 94 before it opens up. We've got westbound 364 with more volume than usual on either side of 141. And we've got westbound 40 lined up. This is before you even get to Kings Highway, in pockets all the way out through the 70 split. And if you're headed into Illinois, there's some volume eastbound on the Poplar Street Bridge and eastbound 70 at 64 due to road work. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, let's talk about Banner Construction. Bill Kaufman has become a friend. I've known him for a long time. He was nice enough to show up at one of our fish fries recently. But really, I want to talk about Banner, his company. Sam P. and Bill have built this since 1993. The reputation has grown and grown and grown, and this is why they deal with such great products, because James Hardie, that's a great company, legendary with this fiber cement siding that's become one of the most popular building materials on the planet. They put a lot of trust into a team like Banner because Banner has been installing their product on homes throughout the St. Louis region for 3+ decades, and they want someone who knows what they're doing because, and I've shared this story before, one time I was at the lunch with Sam P. and Bill from Banner, and they were telling the story of a former Cardinals player, I won't mention the name, that had a Hardie construction job that went really poorly. It wasn't Banner that did it, but somebody installed the Hardie board that really didn't know what they were doing. That became a bigger issue. Don't do that. Go with the experts. If you want to find out a little bit more about what the siding is all about and what to expect with a siding installation, or with beautiful, high-quality, energy-efficient windows from Pella, they can help you out. You can do it real quickly by going to the website, bannerconstruction.com, or just pick up the phone and call. It's a free in-home design consultation with the team. Look what they can do for you. Click on that showcase on the website, too, because you'll see homes in the area that have been transformed. BannerConstruction.com.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel, and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
The Mark Reardon Show is St. Louis conservative.
Oh, it's a little music here just because we've been talking about politics. I get worn out by politics. We'll have George Rosenthal from Throttlenet join us in a couple of minutes on some tech stuff where some of this stuff is just getting nuts. You know, George comes up with a list every week, and we don't ever really have time to get to all of it, but we are going to take a little bit, or talk rather a little bit about OpenAI and what they're doing with what he refers to as the pro gamble. So I'm not into all the AI stuff, but if you have OpenAI and you have like a $20 a month subscription, they're going to offer you a $100 a month pro option, which gives you more AI. He'll talk about that. We're also looking at an OpenAI IPO, which is supposed to raise, nearly a $1 trillion. It's an $850 billion valuation. So George will get into that here in just a couple of minutes. We have Tim was on last week, Tim Summer, who has become not only a great guest of mine on the show, but a personal friend as well. And I think we discovered him because he wrote for, and he still does write for the Rock and Roll Globe, but he is a former MTV guy. He was a record industry A&R guy, which means he's signed artists like Hootie and the Blowfish. He's a journalist now. He was featured, we talked about this last week, he was featured and is featured in the new Red Hot Chili Peppers documentary, which is on Netflix. And it's interesting. It's an interview from like the early 80s that Tim did, and he wasn't even... He was surprised. He didn't even know he was in the documentary. But the other thing that's happened in the past couple of months is he became officially a voter in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And the 8 performers who were voted into the 26 class have been chosen. There were 17 nominees that were put up. You had 9 contenders that didn't make it. So those are the Black Crowes, Jeff Buckley, Mariah Carey. These are the people who did not get in on this particular ballot. Lauryn Hill, In Excess, New Edition, Pink, and Shakira. But here's who did get in, and I think I can do a little music here if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. I think that if I can find this, here we go. Phil Collins. Sorry, the font. It's funny because this is a stupid thing, but I'm just going to tell you the font that Ethan puts in sometimes is different than the font that Fred puts in, and it makes my eyes a little difficult to find this stuff. So we know that Phil Collins is actually in the hall with Genesis, but now he's in for this. I mean, this was a huge song. So he's in as a solo artist, as just Phil Collins. So he'll get in, and I know that the aforementioned Tim Summers is very excited about this because he is personal friends with Billy Idol. Billy Idol's coming to St. Louis in the fall. I'd love to see him. We maybe can get Tim here, but Billy Idol's going to get in. And that's been a long time coming. And look, he was, I would say, transformational in the way that music was evolving in the early 1980s. And I think he is certainly deserving of a spot in the hall. But here's another band that got in that I think some of us were wondering if they would ever get in. I'm excited about this. Iron Maiden made it in. I saw them at the Kiel Opera House way back in the day. Joy Division and New Order, not my favorite bands, but they're in. Oasis, I think they were kind of going to be a lock. I think Sue will like this one because Sade got into the Hall of Fame. Smooth Operator from, what was that, like 1982 or 1983. Some awesome music here. And then, it's funny, I listened to this, I'm a fan, and I have a man crush on John Mayer. You're aware of that, right?
I am, yeah.
So have you ever heard of Don Was?
Yeah.
Don Was is Was Not Was
Yes.
was a band, but Don Was is a great record producer and musician. And Don Was has a show on Saturday nights on John's station. So he basically takes 3 or 4 hours and he plays some cool music. So when I was listening this past Saturday night to the show, I heard the silky smooth voice of Luther Vandross.
I love Luther.
And it brought back some memories from the 80s for sure. And Luther Vandross is going to be in this class of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, I don't know if it's rock and roll, but it is awesome vocals. And, the way that the hall is defined, I think he certainly qualifies. The Wu-Tang Clan is the other one that's going in this year. So Phil Collins, Billy Idol, Iron Maiden, Joy Division, New Order, Oasis, Sade, Luther Vandross, Wu-Tang Clan. I think that, I certainly think that In Excess deserves to be in. They'll get in eventually. Probably the Black Crowes as well. some of the other names, I don't know if you were out of the studio, like Pink and Shakira, they'll eventually get in, I guess. But that, Tim's going to maybe weigh in on this because he's able to vote now, and I know he's got some thoughts on what happened. They also have these other awards that perhaps I was unaware of. They have the Early Influence Award, which is given to Celia Cruz, Fela Kuti, Queen Latifah, MC Light, Graham Parsons. I don't know all those names there. The Musical Excellence Award will go to Linda Creed. I do not know her. Arif Mardin. I do not know him or her. Jimmy Miller. Maybe I should know him, but I do know this last name, Rick Rubin, one of the best record producers that's ever walked the planet. And then the Ahmet Erdogan Award to Ed Sullivan. Yeah, look at that. Lionel Richie and Ryan Seacrest did this on American Idol. Tim actually texted me last night, and he said, Billy's in, shh, keep it quiet. They're going to break it on American Idol, and that's what they did last night.
I'll be darned.
So the induction ceremony does not take place until November in Los Angeles. They are going to air it at some point. They don't do it live. They usually, record it. They put it. Actually, I think HBO used to do it live, and then they rolled it back. But now they just record it and they package it up, and they're going to put it out in December. Disney got the rights in 23, so I guess they said that the full show, the last 2 years, was aired live on Disney Plus before the edited version was shown months later. But this year, the live broadcast has been scratched for 2026. So I don't know what that means. Maybe it just means that it was kind of boring if you watch the whole thing.
So
because
they're going to edit it down?
In all honesty, so I don't know if you ever watched, they do go on for a long time.
Yeah, I do not watch.
And then, the speeches and the cutaways to the tables and all of those things. So it does go on for a while. So I can see an edited version was something that would be, a little bit user-friendly. By the way, you know who the winner of the fan vote was?
Who?
New Edition.
Seriously?
Yeah, but they didn't get in.
That's interesting.
So, doesn't that kind of give you an indication that vote doesn't really count for much in
it does.
reality? So the coverage of this in the Hollywood trades is one of the questions that's going to remain here is, will Liam Gallagher finally be admitted? Because when Oasis was first nominated, he didn't care, right? He basically said, F the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, full of its bumblecrats, still estranged at that time from his brother Noel. Well, of course, they kind of got together again, and they've done a reunion tour. I don't know that that's completely repaired because you know how rock stars are. Look, I've told you this story before. It's amazing to me. I won't name the bands, but I've been in buses backstage at the amphitheater with bands, with other people in bands who hate each other, and they don't talk to each other before the show. Look, Neil Sean's a good example of this. I was backstage with Neil Sean. He and John Cain, they hate each other, right? But they don't even talk to one another before they go on stage. They go on stage, they do their show, they come off stage. That's it. They don't have any communication outside of the show itself.
That'd be horrible.
It's amazing that happens, but I think it happens a lot more than you think.
They like money.
Well, right.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing it for.
Yep.
But it's amazing that those relationships have broken down so much. And then, they kind of let the chemistry still fly on stage, but they do not like each other. They're not hanging out. They're not sharing Christmas cards. Nothing like that.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Huge jam on westbound 370 tonight between 270 and 141. Most of that due to road work. We've got westbound 70 still slow past the airport, and then a little bit to the west of there. It's not as bad. 64 is jammed approaching Kings Highway. This is in pockets out through 270 through Clarkson, and again at either side of Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Southbound 270, most of the volume there is now Olive down through Doherty Ferry, and a little slow at 55. 55, some volume headed down toward Bates, but better than usual. And we look good on the bridges downtown, a little slow coming off the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge, and on eastbound 64 past 157. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
One of the things that I really love about the Missouri Athletic Club is the events that they put on are often very, very unique. I was just talking about music here, and they have this Music City Live songwriter experience. This is something that is totally up my alley. This is going to be at the Downtown Clubhouse on May 28th. That's a Thursday evening. A bunch of songwriters from Nashville kind of coming in, doing a little music, and Ray Fulcher, it might be Fulker, and I apologize if I'm getting that wrong. Tranny Anderson and Andy Albert will join some other folks for an evening of music and then storytelling. And I think the storytelling. These are, I'm going to guess, and I don't know those names, but those are probably names that have written hit songs for country artists that you really, really know. The other event that is on my radar is on Tuesday, April 28th. So it's coming up very quickly at the Downtown Clubhouse. We have St. Louis County Prosecuting Attorney Melissa Price Smith, the U.S. Attorney for this district, Thomas Albus, Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore, the U.S. Attorney for the Western District, Matthew Price, all participating in the MAC Speaker Series. Crime is the number one issue in St. Louis, and those prosecutors will give a really great perspective. There's still availability for you to register for that luncheon. Again, that's coming up on Tuesday. I think that's 2 weeks from today, April 28th, the MAC Speaker Series. And you can always find out more at mac-stl.org for the Missouri Athletic Club.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit throttlenet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
I'm Ultima Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Every time one of my children started driving, it was terrifying. Thousands of accidents happen across the country. We see it every day. If you've been injured in a car accident, call us.
Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Triton Exteriors, St. Louis roofing, siding, and gutter systems. We'll take care of you and your home. We're #1 in the Ladue, Kirkwood, and Webster area. James Hardy certified. Visit triton.stl.com to be connected with a James Hardy expert and receive a free estimate. Triton-stl.com or call 314-717-1159. That's 314-717-1159. Triton Exteriors, St. Louis #1 James Hardy specialists.
Mark Cox here. Beat the spring cleaning rush and zero res. This week, 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 and whole system duct cleaning for just $599. Visit ZeroResSTL.com.
What if you had a plan to build income outside your job? At Lifestyles Unlimited, you'll learn how people are investing in real estate to grow their income and make smarter financial choices one property at a time. Right now, join us for just $297. That's a savings of $443 off our real estate education program. Text RADIO to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
534. This every once in a while I say like an East Coaster. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing. I actually get paid to talk, which is kind of remarkable sometimes.
From Fenton to Fairview, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative. Tech Talk Tuesday with George Rosenthal of ThrottleNet, throttlenet.com.
Here we go. We love this segment with George every Tuesday. We were going to do it every other Tuesday. It's so damn good. We do it every Tuesday. George, welcome back. How are you?
Hello. Thanks so much for having me again. Really appreciate it.
I want to talk about
Doing
the
great.
topics. You sent some great topics, but I have to start with what I sent to you yesterday because I talked about this on the air.
Yeah.
So I saw something that was on X, formerly Twitter, that showed a video of wild boars in Poland that snuck into a neighborhood and were chased off by a robot. Now, when I sent this to you, I said, I have no idea if this is true, if this really happened, but the video is hilarious. So I don't know if there's any way to know if that's real, but it was kind of funny.
It looks real because I actually saw that particular model-looking robot at CES in Las Vegas. So I do think it may be real, and the robot is actively running after these wild hogs. It was amazing to see. I thought, well, how neat would that be? And, instead of an exterminator at your house or an exterminator running around the fields of Texas, you've got robots all over the place.
Well, I think maybe that's where we're heading, but that was hilarious just to see that. The wild boars were not really fans of the robot, that's for sure. He was very effective. All right, so a couple of topics that you have shared with me. What does the end of clicking buttons mean? What we're going to change the way we do some of this stuff?
Yeah, this could be the beginning of a new era of the way we use computers. Obviously, everybody's used to using a mouse pad. Your laptop, you use your finger, you always click on a menu button or you click on something to make an action happen.
Right.
And, this has been going on forever, obviously, since the dawn of computers. But now the creator, he actually started a company called Sierra, which reminds me of the old video games back in the 70s or in the 80s. But the co-founder or co-former CEO of Salesforce has started a company called Ghostwriter, or a product called Ghostwriter, where this is like agentic UI. So it's an agent that's UI that sits on top of software and basically takes over the software in a way that you don't have to click on it. You talk to it like a regular person. So imagine, in Iron Man, the movie Iron Man, there's Jarvis, and Iron Man talks to Jarvis, and Jarvis gets things done. So this is the way things are going, in that you just talk to the software, and the software takes care of the tasks. So what does this mean to a business? This means that you don't have to look for new employees that specifically understand how to use your software or line of business applications, that you just talk to it and it does what it needs to do. So like an example would be, onboard this new client and sync up their billing information to QuickBooks. So instead of having to know how to use the ERP system that runs your business and QuickBooks and then do all the tasks that it takes, you just tell it, hey, I've got this new client. Can you onboard them with my operation system and then sync everything over to my accounting system? And it just does it. So you're talking about a whole new line of employees that don't need to have specific line of business application experience. They just need to know how to get the specific job done verbally, how to explain to the AI what you want the end result to be, which is fascinating in and of itself.
Is that more, but is that something that applies? Certainly you're mentioning, business applications. Is that someone or something, that would also have, just regular consumer applications?
Yes, and that's what he's going toward. I think he's starting on the business side because that's where a lot of the revenue may be. But eventually, yes, it's going that way to where you just tell the computer, the laptop, I'd like to do these certain things, and it just goes and does it. Or, can take a look at my Quicken, not QuickBooks, because Quicken is being used by a lot of people, or Rocket Money, or whatever your personal budget application is. You tell it, look, I'd like to buy this new car. Can you do a full analysis on my spending and take a look if I can afford this car, if it's a wise purchase or not? It's like basically talking to your computer as if you're Captain Picard in Star Trek, instead of having to type everything out and break out the calculator to make things happen.
Yeah, but I've spent my entire life making bad decisions on things that I buy. Why would I want to straighten that out now, George Rosenthal?
Right. Yeah, keep that. You can keep it going. I mean, you don't have to use it, but that's where we're heading, though.
But one of the things you said is like, look, you have a situation like with my daughter. Now she's using a Chromebook and an iPad and stuff, but they may not in the future know what a menu bar is, right?
No, that's what's wild to me. Imagine even kids that are 10, 12, 14, but imagine the kids that are now being born.
Yeah,
exactly. That are going to come into the world not even understanding what a menu bar is. Because by the time they're old enough to even start using a computer, they're not even going to type. You just talk to the device. And the device can be then tied in to everything in the home, what you're wearing on your body, such as watches and glasses. And it's basically with you at all times. You don't even think of it as an AI assistant. It's just part of your life.
By the way, yeah, so I just got a new washer and dryer. This is kind of like a little side note, but it has the ability for use of the app. So I'm going to have to try to figure this out. I think I can sit here in the studio and say, start my load of watch, like type that in and have that thing work. So I'm looking forward to using that technology more. But look, every week I sit here, I almost say the same thing because honestly, I told you I downloaded Gemini. I haven't used it yet. I'm intimidated by this AI stuff. Now, this is where I get a little confused. You want to talk about OpenAI. They have a pro product that they may make available. And right now, you have that for a consumer. It could be like $20 a month, right?
Correct. Yes. And that's the biggest one that a consumer can get. Yes.
So now they're talking about, and obviously this happens with most applications like this, let's have a pro version of that, which is going to give you a little bit more, I guess, and that's $100 a month.
Yes, which obviously, is a lot of money to spend on an AI tool. $1,200 a year. But look, they're betting that a business will say yes to this, of course, because it's $1,200 for the year. But what they're giving you is not just faster speeds, okay? It's not just about that. It's the uptime, number one, that, when a lot of people are using the system in prime daytime, they will throttle down your access and how quick you're getting results back. But this is more about reasoning and high computing so that you're going to get the best, obviously, reasoning models for your business. So for $100, that they're betting you're going to go for this is that they're going to give you the best of the best that they have to offer with zero limitations on speed and the greatest access to the newest logic and reasoning that the system offers. So this is a big deal. I mean, it's $100. I know it's a lot more than like a Microsoft 365 email address or an Adobe subscription for Adobe Acrobat or Photoshop or what have you. But still, this is a huge deal for a business in that you get dedicated access to an AI agent that gives you the latest and greatest, which, by the way, they're putting out so many features. It's unbelievable and happening way fast, which kind of goes into this whole IPO that they're looking at doing later this year.
Okay, so that was what I was going to lead you because we're still talking about a big IPO, and this valuation is somewhat in question right now, right?
Yeah, this is crazy. This IPO, they're looking at happening later in the year, probably Q3, maybe Q4 this year. But they're trying to look at a valuation of $850 billion to $1.2 trillion. That is worth more than Facebook Meta was just a few years ago. Not during their IPO. I'm talking altogether Facebook. So this could be what they're talking about is the biggest IPO in history, in absolute history. So what a time to be alive and see AI take off. But there's a massive risk here. So, yeah, you jump in with this IPO and you put a bunch of money in and you start investing in OpenAI. Problem is you could end up like Netscape. And I don't know how many of you guys are out there.
Oh, I remember. So it's funny because that's a quote, okay, from this guy with Sapphire Ventures who's not an investor in OpenAI or Anthropic. Is that the other one?
Anthropic.
Okay, Anthropic. Yeah. Duh. Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
but he compared OpenAI to the Netscape of AI, like you said. And I remember that was the first thing I used. I've told you the story. I was so confused when I was on the line with Sony. I had a Sony Vaio computer, and they say, you need to use a browser. And I'm like, well, I have AOL. What's the difference? What the hell is a browser? And it was Netscape at first.
Yes, and they had the best features, and they were so much more advanced, and the web browsing was so much more capable of anything that AOL had to offer, so everybody jumped to it. But the problem is, just because you're first doesn't mean you're going to be the best and stay there. And, Netscape got crushed by Google and by Microsoft. And that's really the risk that OpenAI has here. But look, they don't have a choice. They're putting out so many features right now. They're burning through billions and billions of dollars a month. And they've got to raise this money on this IPO. I mean, they did just raise $800 billion to keep their systems running. But like we've talked about on the show several times, is all about these data farms.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Server farms.
Yeah.
And you got to have these server farms. So they need money. Massive amounts of infrastructure needs to be built in order to keep them, A, ahead, but B, everybody's trying to get to AGI. Remember, it's all about artificial general intelligence. That is the race we have with the rest of the world. That's what we're trying to get to. When everybody says we have to beat China in the AI race, that's what we're trying to get to is AGI. Artificial general intelligence. And that's where AI starts to reason and starts to not necessarily self-aware, but it becomes smarter than any human that's ever lived.
Right, and that's where it becomes even more scary for me. George Rosenthal is here, throttlenet.com. It is Tech Talk Tuesdays. Quickly, because we're getting a little lengthy here, but I do want to talk about this Uber situation because the robotaxi is here, but there's some interesting numbers that sort of link up with this whole experience when you compare it to regular taxis, right?
Yes, let me tell you, I'm not getting in an Uber robo-taxi anytime soon. Waymo, sure. Okay, fine. I'll get in a Waymo, and in fact, I can't wait to do that. We talked about, Sue and I getting into one live on the show. That'd be fun.
We got to do it. I saw another one the other day, too, so now I'm starting to see them. Yeah.
Uber's having a serious software problem. This is the AI software, and this goes to show you we're not just there just yet. Uber, every 700 miles, and this data leaked, by the way. This was not supposed to be released. This data leaked from from Uber and their partner, and every 700 miles, you got to have human intervention because essentially the car blue screens. It shuts down or loses GPS localization. It doesn't understand which lane it's in. I mean, it has problems where, it can't understand construction workers or hand signals.
Okay, well, this is what of course, this is what we're afraid of, right?
Yes, we're terrified of this, and it just leaked, and it's like, wait a second. And the biggest problem is Uber's resolution to this isn't let's go fix the software. They're lobbying the government for legal anonymity or legal recourse so that they don't get sued into oblivion.
Right.
Instead of focusing on the fixing, they're like, oh, please don't sue us.
And if that actually happens, that would probably be one of those things where you're clicking your agreement and you don't even know that you're agreeing to that, right?
Yeah, because as soon as you ask for the robo-taxi to show up at your destination, you've already agreed to their terms.
Yes, that is
so when you're in the
unbelievable.
car, it's too late.
ThrottleNet.com. Check out George's company. Amazing stuff as usual. We'll talk next Tuesday.
Thanks so much. Have a great rest of the week.
546, another Tech Talk Tuesday in the book.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Road work causing massive delays on westbound 370. They've got the right lane blocked from near 141 approaching that area, and it's just a parking lot jam back through 270. Southbound 270 is slow from 370 down through 70. Then a little bit of volume at Ladue Road before it looks better. Now, southbound 170 is slow, ramping on to 64. Westbound 40, it's just moderate volume now past Kings Highway out through McCausland, a little bit at Lindbergh and at just west of 270. Eastbound is slow on either side of the inner bounds. And we've got moderate volume westbound 70, just mainly past the airport and again out west. And 64 is slowing out at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Not bad if you're headed into Illinois on the Poplar Street Bridge. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, so we know the stock market has been a little wonky lately, up and down because of the war, but let me guide you into a great event that we do with the team from the Retirement Advisory Group, and we're going to do another one here 2 weeks from tonight. So there's time to get registered because you don't have to worry about, we're not going to charge you anything. This is a free event. You just have to make sure that we know you're coming. And we're doing this out in Chesterfield, and it's at the Doubletree, so the location is just a little bit different than it used to be. We're moving a little bit further west. We used to be at Plaza Fronic. But the bottom line is this is an awesome opportunity for you to get in a room with Thomas, his nephew Bob Kershaw, Bob's wife Tammy, Mark and Annie and I will all be there that night to kind of introduce them. We usually do a little trivia. Thomas has some T-shirts to hand out, and then he's going to teach you about his philosophy, which is safely linking to the market. And now his clients have not lost a penny of their principal. And this is something that you want to make sure you get on top of, especially considering what the market's doing and what inflation is doing to all the money that you've saved. Now, one thing we always like to emphasize is you can always go in one-on-one. They'll give you a free copy of their latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. But this is a great opportunity to get together with, like 20 to 30 people. We sit in there. Thomas kind of does his thing, and it doesn't last very long. There's not a big time commitment. So if you have an interest in speaking with the team, learning about their philosophy, maybe how it's a little different when it comes to your retirement, this is a great opportunity 2 weeks from tonight. Register at 314-993-9494 or online. There's a tab right on the front page, retirementkey.com.
97.1 FM Talk, proud to partner with Missouri Right to Life.
This is Steve Rupp, president of Missouri Right to Life. Join us at our Make Missouri Pro-Life Again banquet with keynote Riley Gaines on May 20th in St. Charles. Go to the Missouri Right to Life website for details.
Here's something I run into a lot with younger homeowners, and happened to be with my little boy. He was looking at purchasing homes. This house had a 20-plus-year-old furnace and air conditioner. And, of course, my advice was never buy a house with that old of an air conditioner. You will be buying a new one. And he goes, well, how much does a new one cost? For his size home, told him figure tens of thousands to over $20,000. If you're looking at a house, my personal opinion is make sure it's a newer unit. If not, request buyers to put in a newer unit. It makes it easier on your 15 or 30-year mortgage if it's included in the loan. Just my piece of advice for that. But if you're hearing this after the fact and you do need a new air conditioner, sorry to hear that, but call me, Bart Inman, one easy number in Missouri and Illinois. The easiest of numbers. It is 314-293-2600 or bartinman.com. God bless.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis Conservative.
So, Sue, I think you'll get a kick out of this and perhaps the audience as well. I get home last night and, it was my birthday and I'm really not too interested in celebrating these birthdays because there's 6s involved. But my daughter was very excited. She bought me a present. So a couple of things. One was funny. She's like, okay, this isn't, it wasn't wrapped. It was literally like a laundry basket. And she said, Daddy, you can put this in your closet so then you just don't throw your clothes, on the floor and on the bed when you get home. I'm like, okay, you kind of got me there. All right, good enough. And then she says, okay, this next one is for you, but kind of for me too. I'm like, okay. So she gave me a record. And it was double record vinyl, maroon vinyl. It's really cool. Noah Kahan's first record, which was from a couple of years ago with Stick Season.
Wow.
It was awesome. But this is, and Sue, I cannot tell you how much this move is like her dad. She also bought herself at the same time Olivia Rodrigo record.
That's right.
And she bought both. But I swear to God, that is something I've done before.
Yes.
That I've probably going to do in the future, but when I just laughed my ass off because
that's awesome.
That was, but it's the Olivia Rodrigo is really cool. It's pink vinyl, and then I have the maroon vinyl. So she's very much looking forward to going down into my record room. She wants to listen to Ray too. She likes Ray. I told you I'm really into this British singer. So I just thought it was so
That's
funny
great.
because it was such a Mark Reardon move, if you know what I mean.
I do.
I had to laugh. All right, let's do this here this afternoon.
Playback ready. Now, the audio cut of the day.
I tweeted something of support to Ms. Riley Gaines this afternoon. She liked my tweet because I was referring to this. Yeah, I thought that was cool, too. I like what she said. Look, she has come in and weighed in on this situation with Trump depicting himself as Jesus or a doctor. You make the call. I thought it was uncalled for. So did Riley Gaines, but she so diplomatically responded to this because the president broke bad on her yesterday. He goes, I don't even like Riley Gaines, which is just dumb.
Yep.
But here's Riley.
The President of the United States is upset with me. Let's talk about it. I know you guys saw the post. The AI-generated photo posted to President Trump's Truth Social account depicting him as Christ healing someone. This was me, a lifelong Bible-believing Christian conservative this morning when I saw the post. Like, come on, President. I love the president. I support the president. I'm always in his corner. I think he's like a master troll, if you will. But for the life of me, I just can't understand why he would post something like this. So I took to my X account and I said, 2 things are true. Number 1, a little humility would serve President Trump well. And second, God shall not be mocked. And not even within 12 hours, it has like 5 million views. The comments were filled with people calling me a rhino and a grifter and a liberal, a closeted liberal who's trying to destroy President Trump. Which those people aren't even worth responding to because normal people don't think like that. People who are not chronically online. But anyways, the president ended up taking down the Truth Social post with the AI image.
Yeah, I like what Riley said there about those people don't even matter because I get sick of that. It used to bother me. I was called a rhino all the time. I probably even will be because I'm questioning a little bit here about Iran. And also, I think his response to Riley Gaines was just ridiculously dumb. I can't even believe he did it. But I thought that she handled this so well.
Later that day, a White House reporter asked President Trump, did you delete the post because of critics like Riley? And he responded back by saying this. I didn't listen to Riley. He then goes on to say he's not even actually that big of a fan of me. I could have told you this morning when I posted that. That would be the Trump response. Following his comments, I have had a plethora of reporters from left-wing media outlets reach out to me for comment, trying to bait me into saying something bad about President Trump because he doesn't like me. Newsflash, I don't do what I do or say what I say to be liked. If that were the case, I would stick behind the slogan of trans women are women. I do what I do and say what I say because I have moral conviction, which seems to be a foreign concept to some people.
She's 25 years old. That is, she's one of the more impressive people that I am ever familiar with. And she closed this way. And I just think she did such a great, and she didn't need to, what I did when I tweeted at her or just retweeted her position was I said, you were generously diplomatic here, generously diplomatic to the president.
Here's my response to the reporters from CNN, ABC, CBS. I love the president. And I am so grateful and glad that he is in the Oval Office. I will continue to support him and the America First agenda. At the end of the day, I do nothing for the approval of man, no matter who that man is, including the president. Our main purpose on this earth is to glorify the Lord, our creator, our savior, in everything that we do. That Truth Social post missed the mark. It's now deleted. Amazing. We are imperfect people. I know I am an imperfect person. I do not get my feelings hurt easy. And again, I know with the president, it's not personal. We've had our tiffs before. I just know that I want to spend eternity in a very real place called heaven. And I would love for the president to be there as well. Like one old big eternal party in the clouds. Jesus is the way. He is the truth. He is the life. I am going to keep doing my part by speaking the truth and doing my best to lead people to Christ. And supporting the America First agenda, which in turn means supporting President Trump.
I just thought that was so well done. Look, JC and I aren't quite as close as Riley is, but I have friends that are very Christian oriented, and the post was ridiculous, and the explanation for the post was ridiculous, and what she did there at the age of 25 was beyond her years of maturation, and I give it a stamp of approval.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We don't have to call everybody. People can have their own opinions about things and not be labeled. You have to call them this, you call them that.
I know.
Why can't you just think for yourself?
Well, and that's why I think the response, you got to be careful, and I make this mistake. The response on social media, that's manufactured.
Yeah. Westbound 370, we've got a jam tonight, and it starts right around 270. And it's all because of road work in the right lane. And it gets better once you get over the bridge, past 94. 70 westbound a little slow past Lambert. We've got 64, mostly it's eastbound that's slowing at Big Bend, and southbound 170 is slow through there. 55 is in good shape and no delays on the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, we just had a great Tech Talk Tuesday with George Rosenthal. Let me tell you about his company, which is ThrottleNet. They've been helping St. Louis businesses navigate technology for over 25 years now. They focus on security, strategy, and keeping you productive. And one of the things that we like to emphasize all the time, and we've had George on many, many occasions where you've had a company, sometimes big companies, that have an employee that gives out a password or somebody clicks something wrong. They fall into a phishing scam. That becomes a ransomware attack. No client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom because their cybersecurity works, and they back their cybersecurity with a $500,000 cyber protection program. They're the only IT company that does that. Most businesses don't really know where they stand, which is kind of frightening. If you don't know if you're secure or if you're one mistake away from a breach, take advantage of the offer that they have, which is a free baseline IT security audit. You go to throttlenet.com/971. Boom. You get that free baseline security audit. Don't miss out. If you're a business owner, you don't want to miss out on having great security. ThrottleNet can offer that to you. ThrottleNet.com/971.
You know that Chick-fil-A sells more than chicken, right?
Hello, my name is Jaleesa, and a little thing I love